Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. I am Ayuba Ilia, and indeed it's a Tuesday morning, 26th of April, a beautiful day indeed here in the capital city. I'm not alone in the studio right here.
It's indeed a beautiful morning. Thanks for joining us. My name is Stella Iyachi.
Well, quite a lot on the show this morning, fully packed. We'll be bringing you a lot of information and updates on what you need to know on the program. Beginning with the headlines, we have President Buhari felicitates with Macron on his re-election.
Security operatives arrest 9 members of kidnap syndicate in Ogun State. Intended
pilgrims protest over 100% hike in Hajj fare.
Now the news in details. Operatives of the Ogun State Command and other local security outfits have arrested 9 members of an alleged notorious syndicate, kidnap syndicate terrorizing Abeokuta Ayetoro Road in Abeokuta local government area of the state. They were apprehended on Sunday when police, local hunters, So Safe Car, OPC, Vigilante, and men of Amotekun Corps stormed their hideout at Abule Ogba off Ayetoro Road in Abeokuta. The suspects are Hamid Taiwo, Kende Jimo, Umar Sanda, Sanda Aliyu, Ali Morandu, Usman Abubakar, Usman Mohammed, Umaru Amadu, and Umaru Momodu. The police spokesman, Abimbola Oyeyemi, on Monday told newsmen in Abeokuta that the suspects were arrested following a credible intelligence gathered by policemen at Sabo Ilupeju Divisional Headquarters. Oyeyemi said the police had gathered that Hamid, Taiwo, and Kende Jimo, who are commercial motorcyclists running errands for the kidnap syndicate, were sighted somewhere in Rounder area of Abeokuta North local government area.
President Muhammadu Buhari has rejoiced with French President Emmanuel Macron for winning his second term in office. The president, in a statement issued on Monday by his spokesman Garba Shehu, also felicitated with him for making history as the only sitting leader of the country to return in 2 decades. President Buhari said the iconic leadership style of the French president, who spent 6 months in Nigeria working as an intern at the French embassy in 2002, had continued to inspire a new generation of leaders and interests in politics and governance, starting from his country and beyond. He said the re-elected French president had consistently created lines for improved ties in economy, culture and security, which had culminated in France-Nigeria Business Council, African Culture Seizing in 2020, and the France-Africa Summit.
And now some intending pilgrims in Lagos on Monday stormed the Alausa Government House to protest the 100% increase in the cost of the 2022 Hajj fare. The pilgrims said they had already made payment for the 2022 Hajj since 2019, which did not hold because of the COVID-19 pandemic. They said to their dismay, they got a message from the State Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board to pay additional 1.3 million to balance the payment made since 2019. They called for the intervention of the state governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and the speaker, Mudashiru Obasa.
Well, Stella, you recall quite, a few days ago when we had an infographic on the front page of Daily Trust that was showing the detailed breakdown of how much, the
intended programs we're going to pay
we have to pay, because of, the exchange rate, how it has changed.
Yeah.
And everything pointed to the fact that there is need for those who have even made payments already to now balance up, because there's need to now.
In fact, when I saw this yesterday, I wasn't surprised. And I think that we're going to maybe see more of that across the states, because if you have paid before, at that time you had imagined that you had your money to embark on Hajj. Now to cough out an extra 1.3 million naira, it's a lot.
That may not come easy, really, and I agree as well. Not to talk about the issue of the slots. I mean, there's a reduced number.
There's a reduced number.
So quite a lot of, well, I won't say competition, but there's scarce slots efforts.
You know,
for
in
more
some
people.
states, a lot of states have stopped giving out the forms already because they already have a backlog of people who paid before and could not make it. So they cannot take on more people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, we'll continue to follow up on that. Now, let's take a look at more reports on Daybreak this morning. Kano State Government has commenced a 10-day emergency refuse evacuation and disposal exercise across the state. The exercise is in response to public outcry over accumulated refuse in many parts of the state. Trust TV's Idris Jibrin, who went around the city, reports that so far over 500 trucks of the waste have been evacuated. Let's take a look.
Cape Gate is a waste management company contracted by Kano State Government to be carrying out routine environmental sanitation across the state. But for several weeks, this company could not operate at full capacity, which recently made a refuse dump to become a common sight in many parts of Kano metropolis, resulting to various inconveniences that are threatening the environment.
This is terrible. It's too much. Even if they build this thing, you can say they get a person for body. If you break a tire, now dust you go to bro. Even for house, we not feel stay for house. If you see my house, that's why the big thing go enter inside the house.
This dirty, at least they are fighting for coronavirus, but this is more than coronavirus. Every day you cannot breathe, you cannot eat. Even if I'm using first mask to pass there.
Tagged Operation Keep Kano Clean. This 10 days exercise is part of the state government direct intervention toward refuse evacuation and disposal.
We have mobilized resources, and we have also sought for corporate social responsibility from private organizations. So we have had a meeting with all the companies that are undertaking projects in Kano, private companies, and we requested them to support us in any way they can.
The problem of indiscriminate refuse dump, non-payment of refuse evacuation fee by the residents are believed to be among the major factors threatening the productivity of Cape Gate Waste Management Company in Kano.
On a daily basis, we evacuate an average of 50 trucks of waste from Kano. So that is approximately about 300 trucks evacuated over the last 6 days. I believe yesterday we evacuated, I think, about 70 trucks, and I believe today we are going to do more than that.
Although the 10 days emergency intervention by the state government will reduce the amount of refuse dump in Kano, but the threat of environmental pollution may likely remain unabated unless prompt payment of refuse evacuation fees by the residents are accompanied by a properly government-implemented legislative policies. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
Well, that's quite apt. If you look at the trends, all over the urban centers, this issue of indiscriminate disposal of waste, not just, it's not just about, evacuating this waste from the dump sites, but also
the process of disposal.
The disposal, people need to be sensitized. People need to know that you don't just dump anything everywhere.
Anywhere.
Think about the environmental hazards that could cause. We take a lot of things for granted.
You listened to that woman in the report. She said that the dust that was coming from outside, people could not breathe. So these are things that people take for granted, and it's crazy.
Yeah,
Another thing is that, apart from the fact that, yes, it's important for government to ensure that they keep evacuating this waste, but citizens need to play their role. They need to dispose it at their proper places, and they also need to pay their fees for the evacuation of this waste.
And that makes it easy for even the agencies or even the organizations responsible for evacuating those waste, because by the time you litter everywhere, with it, their job becomes much more difficult, isn't it? I mean, talking about 70 trucks, in one day. Kano is a big city, I agree.
Very big.
So that's even the more reason why these things should be managed properly. Because at the end of the day, if you check it really, just yesterday I was thinking about, waste, and that's like $1 million industry there. We don't know.
Especially if it's properly recycled and properly disposed and properly recycled.
Exactly.
Yes.
So with technology that has now evolved,
It's a market
recycling
on
some
its
of
own
these
that
things.
nobody's really looking at.
It is, and that's very important, for us to manage these things properly. Imagine a city like Kano, if the waste is properly managed.
And then look at Lagos and look at other big cities.
Yeah, that could come from just waste. So
and one woman there said something. She said we're battling coronavirus and this is happening. It just tells you that when we allow this, it also puts a burden on our health system. That's why you see a lot of people going to the hospital. Sometimes you hear that so many people are vomiting and
the cholera
dying in a particular.
Yes,
we keep hearing, we keep having this cholera outbreak yearly. This is one of the reasons.
Exactly. So it's very important that as citizens we also play our part.
Yeah.
You don't just dump anything everywhere. Look out for specific locations earmarked for that purpose. And then also it goes back to the government as well. Always make provision for where people can actually dump some of these things, because sometimes if you look around and you don't see where the appropriate place to dump it, the tendency is to just dump it anywhere.
But have you seen instances where maybe you're driving and then you see a car in front of you, somebody flings a bottle, maybe the person just finished having Coke, a bottle of any of the soft drinks, and then the person just throws it out through the window.
Very common.
And you're thinking, what just happened?
Very common. And that's something that on our part as citizens we need to
take care of. Yes.
Now let's take a look at some more stories. Members of Southwest Agenda for Asiwaju visited Daily Trust headquarters on Monday to seek support of the organization towards the 2023 general election. According to them, the media plays a vital role in bridging the gap between politicians and the people. Take a look.
The group, which is led by its chairman and former Senator Dayo Adeyeye, commended Media Trust Limited for the successes it has recorded so far in carrying out its media operations. According to him, the visit is part of preparation ahead of 2023 general elections for Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
And I want to commend you also for the additions you have made to your products. You now have a television and also a radio station. Yes. We are canvassing for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In another 1 month or so, the primaries will be decided. We are hopeful and optimistic that he will win the primaries. And then we enter into a new phase, which is now general election campaign. At this time, we are working for that one already. That's why we are here.
Dayo Adeyeye also said he's optimistic about Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the polls as more people continue to rally around him.
When I say 14 million votes, I say it with all sense of responsibility, without any fear of contradiction at all going forward. He will command at least 14 million votes today in the Southwest. And that is conservative estimation.
The general manager of Trust TV and deputy editor of Daily Trust newspaper thanked the group for paying the visit, assuring them of getting the right information to its readers and viewers as the polls draw closer.
We want to have a point of call, somebody we can reach out to say, we want to speak to somebody from your campaign, or we want to know what your campaign is doing, so that we'll be able to reflect those aspirations of your candidate in our coverage.
We believe that the road to Aso Rock for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but as well as for any other candidate, will pass through our audience. We have that platform, and we are here, and we will be happy to cooperate with you and work with you in getting stories to our readers and our audiences.
All right, there you have it. It's the season of politics. We always see some of these visits here and
Media
there.
houses are going to receive a lot of these groups as the days unfold.
And that's just to, show the role that the media play indeed in all of this, really. The media is crucial. It is at the center, I would say, between the politicians
and the people.
Yeah,
it is only through the media that they can go down to the people at the grassroots, which is exactly the group that they need to win their elections.
Exactly, because the media has a responsibility to provide, the information, the analysis, the reports that the Nigerians will depend on to make their choices,
to make informed choices when the time comes,
their decisions and all of that. So there's a critical role here that is being played, And so both politicians and voters, you know, will rally around the media.
It's always amazing when they come to the media for partnerships of this sort, you know. But again, the politicians want what they want. When the media gets critical, they get angry.
Exactly,
you
that's
know?
the thing.
Yeah, so in a partnership, it's, they should work together.
Exactly, it's both ways.
Yes.
I mean, politicians, people in governance must understand, and they must learn to listen. They must learn
and
to
take criticism in their stride.
Yes,
you know,
and in good faith.
In good faith.
Because after all, you sought for the partnership of this institution, isn't it? So you should be able to listen. You should be able to take the information that it's providing for the betterment of your governance and for the people as, you know, as a whole. So that is also very important. We look forward to, you know, the 2023 general elections. A lot of supporters are optimistic. Yesterday I heard the leader of the group, or I would say the leader of the delegation, talk about 40 million votes for Asiwaju.
Yes,
Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
He said that as of last year they had about 13, but that between last year and now things have improved and it's now about 14. I guess time will tell, right?
Yeah, we'll get to see how all of that, you know, will play out in the 2023 elections, especially with the coming of, you know, what people consider, the person people consider as his own godson. You know, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and all of that.
Well, you know, that will be taken care of at the primaries level, right? So one of them will emerge. Or no, not necessarily one of them. I mean, either way, it's one person that will emerge at the primaries. So when they now go to the field, that's where we can put this test. We can now put this figure to the test.
Yes. All right, well, that's that. Now, let's take a short breather and take a look at, you know, events that made history on this day, the 26th of April in our world. Take a look. This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
But in a situation where you find that a person look like the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying with us. Now, we'll be taking a look at the dailies on Daybreak this morning, beginning with the Daily Trust newspaper. You have the lead story that says, ahead of Salah, airfares skyrocket. It has the riders that says, Lagos, Sokoto, now 120,000 naira. You have operators cite demand and supply forces. Only tax relief will reduce pressure, experts say. At the top, you know, above that, you would see North bigwigs dividing South to retain power, and that's according to Afenifere. It has the right that says, no apologies, rejecting zoning, Northern elders. Imo residents fear epidemic as mass burial fails to hold, and that's on page 4 of the Daily Trust. Below that, 18 firms shortlisted to toll Abuja, Lokoja, 11 other roads. You'd find details of that on page 19. The pictorial basically shows you Kenyan military personnel carried a casket of former President Mwai Kibaki before leaving a convoy from the parliament after the first day of lying in state in Nairobi yesterday. Below that, at the very bottom, bandits run out of fuel, abandoned 10 motorcycles in Abuja. 2023, it will be injustice to Nigeria if I don't contest. And that's according to the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, a presidential hopeful. The next story there, drunken cop kills 2 at Lagos birthday party. Now that's another story there that is, you know, worrisome if you take a look at that. You know, this is not the first time that we're hearing, you know, cops go haywire at parties, or, you know, they just kind of get high and feel good, and they feel like the best way to express it is by shooting indiscriminately. And now it has led to this.
Well, first of all, it's as if they forget the reason they are at such functions, because I'm sure he was there to provide security, not to be part of the partying guest, you know. And then the fact that he had his arms with him, that should have made him to be a bit more cautious, not that he will go. He wasn't supposed to touch alcohol while being armed, because anything could have happened.
True. I mean, this is synonymous to also, you know, getting drunk while on duty or sleeping on duty or whatever.
Yes.
Because, I mean, how do you really come to terms with, how do we come to terms with this? Like, I've had personal experiences, you know, in my neighborhood where you hear gunshots, you know, in the neighborhood, and you ask, what's happening? You would hear responses like, oh, there's a bar around.
What?
So maybe there are cops that usually come there, and maybe when they feel drunk or maybe they want to intimidate someone or someone gets them angry, they just shoot in there.
Should they even go to
just for
such
the fun of
places? Should they even go to such places with their arms?
Exactly the question.
Should they
you
be
know,
there
you remember the days of,
anything
you
can
know,
happen.
you remember the days of, you know, SARS and all of that. Those
Exactly.
ones, they are not on uniform. They carry their arms everywhere and anywhere, you know, they go to. And so you find them, you know, in such places.
Sometimes they
and
intimidate
that's how you hear stories. Yes,
civilians.
exactly. And that's how you hear stories of, oh, cop shot this person or shot that person and all of that. And when you hear such, it's really heartbreaking. It shows how much they have departed, you know, from their core responsibility. Now, what are the, I mean, there are clear guidelines. There are clear-cut modus operandi, you know, what they call rules of engagement for the police officers. Even when they are, you know, in terms of handling, you know, their firearm, you know, there's this order 237, you know, that we've always cited that has provided guidelines on when and how police officers are to use their firearm. But you always see a violation of that. It's only when you are attacked, when your life is in danger as a police officer,
that you're permitted to use it. And that will be in defense, not the other way around.
Yes, and then maybe if you are defending another person, again, you know, who is in danger.
Who is about to be attacked, yes.
Exactly. Or maybe, you know, you have a reason to shoot at someone who is in lawful custody and then he's trying to escape, you know, and even at that, there has to be justification,
sure. Yes.
you know, for that. So there are all of these ground rules, and then yet you find these things.
Ayuba, just tells you that it happens a lot in this country. Do you remember a viral video that went viral sometime early this year or last year, where some guys that were supposed to be working at one of these eateries were seen dancing? And you know, the next day after the video went viral, it was reported that they were fired. And I saw that on social media. They got a lot of sympathy. People were like, why will you fire them for being happy? Hey, they were employed for a job. Yeah. In fact, they were supposed to man the doors. Yeah. They weren't supposed to be dancing. Yeah. You know, so of course, if that kind of thing happens, there must be sanctions,
exactly.
Right?
And you know, at the end of the day, I think that somehow our security personnel are not more any different from any of us.
Any normal person that is moving around, the fact that you have one of them at your gate doesn't secure you by any
you think that as a security person, that person is supposed to be a vigilant person, who is cautious,
you know, at alert all the time,
you know, who doesn't get carried away by what's happening, you know. But that's the reverse of what
the fact that a policeman could go to a party, forget what brought him there, and then he joined. If there's an attack there, what will he do? Because he's not alert at that point. He's already partying like every other person, which means that the reason for bringing him there has already been defeated.
And that's how you hear stories about how people sneak out with even explosives, you know, to certain places.
Yes.
And detonate without anybody even noticing anything. Yes. So that's it's very important that, you know, our security officials, you know, take seriously their responsibilities.
Exactly.
You know, if you are deployed to a particular place to provide security, why don't you stick to that? I mean, if you want to party and marry, you can always wait
not while on duty.
Off duty.
Not while on duty.
I mean,
and especially at a time like this in Nigeria, where all the time we're talking about insecurity, then they need to be more alert.
Now, other stories of interest really on our front page this morning.
That mass burial that was supposed to hold
in Imo State.
Yes.
Quite worrisome.
It's worrisome. They said the Daily Trust report correspondent in the state said that they couldn't do it because they couldn't find an excavator or something like that. Now, this is 110 bodies littered everywhere. That's an epidemic.
I mean, you cannot imagine
anything
the environmental, the environmental implications.
The people, in fact, a source that spoke to the Daily Trust reporter said that he won't be surprised if people start fleeing the community because they'll be worried. You know, right now, there's stench already, you know. So this burial shouldn't be delayed at all.
It shouldn't be delayed. I mean, if you think about the implications, you know, of having that experience. And, you know, I hope that people learn from these things. I really hope so because, I mean, this is not the first of its kind.
It is not.
You know, but oftentimes people just, you know, take these things for granted. It happens maybe a day or two, and then everyone just moves on.
You know, Nigerians are very stoic. Some of them feel, these people died because they were not smart. It wasn't their lucky day. You know, I would be luckier. You know, that area, Ohaji Egbema, is the oil-producing part of Imo State. So I would have expected that they would have used it judiciously, not to establish an illegal refinery. So much so that, I mean, this kind of thing would happen. It's
really a sad one, and I hope that whatever...
There was a pregnant woman there. They said when it happened, her stomach burst and the fetus, you know, came out. What was she doing there? How Nigerians endanger their lives for these things. It's...
I mean, for what, really, at the end of the day, for what?
And they know that anything can happen because, you know, we've had instances where a trailer falls by the roadside and people go to scoop fuel and then there will be a disaster. Yes. A lot of people will get burned. So why would you even go close to this kind of thing? 110.
Well, I hope the lessons have been learned, you know, at the end of the day.
I hope so too.
Now, other stories, well, we've talked about this, you know, Salah. Well, airfares are always... Well,
anytime there's a holiday or any event in Nigeria.
You know, we've always seen this happen. Once there's a festivity around, there's this artificial inflation
that happens.
That will always happen, and even the aviation sector in this
and now
instance
more so because a lot of people are running away from the roads, so they'll go to the airports.
Really?
Yes. So there's going to be a lot of people at the airports. There's going to be traffic, and like one of the riders said that it's caused by supply. It's caused by demand.
Supply, yes,
So the more the people come, you know, this is the time for them to catch up, right?
But even at that, I hope that they will do that discreetly.
Discreetly,
not taking advantage of the moment and taking advantage of people.
And to consider the general economic situation of Nigerians at the moment.
Truly. All right, let's take a short breather, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at more issues on Daybreak this morning. Please stay.
But in a situation where you find that a look at the situation,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
All right, let's take a look at other papers, or the headlines on on other papers. Let's take a look at Blueprint newspapers. Their headline says, World Malaria Day. U.S. pledges support as Nigeria ranks highest globally. Then they have this story here where the Northern Elders Forum is responding to the presidency. Leave Kuka out of weapon delivery delay. Then under the pictorial, we have Kyari, NDLEA nabs billionaire in tramadol deal. Then there's this other story here there. 2023, Northern PDP stakeholders reject Saraki Bala as consensus candidate. Then there are other stories beneath here. We have Nigeria's fiscal deficit hits 2.23 trillion in fourth quarter of 2021. We have also this story again. Casualties in Imo illegal refinery fire rise to 110. There's also this story, Nigeria-Ukraine war, Nigeria bakers hike bread price. Ayuba, what's with this thing about bread price always going up at the slightest, slightest provocation?
You know, these days, one of the easiest, excuse that you're going to get is about
the Russia-Ukraine war.
That is ongoing.
But before the Russia-Ukraine war, Nigeria bakers have been threatening to increase the price.
Business operators in Nigeria are always eager to increase the prices.
Yes,
so
it's like they're waiting.
At the slightest opportunity, we move. So that's that.
You know how you go to the market sometimes, and then even when you're buying locally produced items, the person tells you, the dollar rate. And I'm like, well, what has dollar got to do with your oranges that you're selling, your carrots that you're selling?
Well, he would definitely prove it to you at the end of the day if you trust, if you listen to him.
Yes, I'm telling you, he's prepared for you.
Exactly.
He came prepared for you, so he'll have something to say to you.
He'll tell you that, well, he's buying sacks, to put in.
We should buy locally made sacks. I'm sure we have locally made sacks. You should buy those.
At the end of the day, he will tell you that the raw materials
or the chemical he used on his carrot farm.
Exactly, and some of the preservatives here and there, blah, blah, blah.
They're always ready.
Exactly. So that's very typical of us in Nigeria here. Other stories on the Blueprint newspaper. I see the story about, well, if you may, the success is recorded by the NDLEA, the Kyari saga now. The NDLEA has arrested the billionaire in Tramadol, the very person behind it, the importation of the drugs.
Before it allegedly got to the hands of
exactly. So,
the
so one may say, well, in this case of Abba Kyari, that's a major one.
Yes, it is.
It's going to add
it's going to give a bigger picture or a clearer picture of exactly what happened.
Exactly.
And then maybe to fast track the entire trial.
Well, we await to see how all of that is going to pan out. Other stories on the Blueprint newspaper, there's this back and forth between the presidency and Bishop Matthew Kukah. The Northern Elders Forum is wading into the matter, asking the presidency to leave Kukah out of the weapon delivery delay that, he has been accused of delaying the delivery of the fighter jets to Nigeria, from the U.S. And all of that, and that he is constantly running to the United States and raising concerns about, killings and attacks on Christians in northern Nigeria and all of that. And part of the reasons why they feel that there's, violation of human rights. And so all of that delay as far back as 2015 and all of that. But hey, I don't know. We have the fighter jets now, right?
And you know what I think? I think we shouldn't bother about who is wrong or who is right. Let's put that aside and tackle the major issue that's on ground, which is the insecurity situation, if you ask me.
Exactly.
The forth and back won't help us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, I don't even know how one person can even hold to ransom a whole country of over 200 million people that have a government in place. Well, we'll leave that to the analysts to continue to talk about. But you have the riders about the lead story now. The United States, is pledging support as Nigeria ranks highest globally, talking about the World Malaria Day. You have the riders that says it loses 200,000 lives, spends 646 billion naira annually to tackle scourge. Nigeria, the Republic of Congo, Tanzania, Mozambique account for half of global deaths, according to WHO. We spent 850 million naira on anti-malaria commodities in 2021. That's KNSG. Well, that's quite
Nigeria spends a lot of money on malaria because malaria is a pandemic in Nigeria.
It's the most common
It's the most common ailment in Nigeria. And then you wonder, what all our research institutes, is there nothing they can do? Not long ago, we heard that there was malaria vaccine in some other countries, but we don't have it in Nigeria. I'm wondering, is it that the research institutes cannot come together and, embark on this journey to find a vaccine for Nigeria or something? Instead, what you have is when you go to the pharmacies, you see different sorts of malaria drugs in all forms of names. Like you get tired. Like every day you see different names, and you begin to wonder if it has become a business. If indeed
it is a business, you
begin to wonder if indeed we actually want to tackle malaria, because I think it benefits people. It benefits a certain group of people if malaria continues the way it is.
Yeah.
If you go to every household, there's always somebody down with malaria.
I mean, it seems to validate the the theory that perhaps there's a cabal that are into this industry that have sworn that we'll never get it right, even in that respect.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, over 600 billion naira spent annually.
Annually, do you know what that can do for our economy?
And yet,
not to talk of.
We'll now argue that maybe some experts will now begin to argue that, well, it's not enough.
Yes, and yes, they'll say it's not enough. They need more, and they look at what that does to the man hours. You know how many times certain people who are supposed to be at work are down at home because they have malaria. That also has a direct impact on the economy. So I think that, when COVID is still here, but see the way the West attacked it. They went after it because it affected them more. I'm sure if malaria was not just a tropical African thing, maybe by now there would have been the fight would have been more. And that is why I think, since it affects us more, like in Nigeria, we should be in the forefront in the fight against it.
And it's, somewhat, if you look at it, it's like Nigerians have come to learn to live with this. Like our system has even, come to adjust to this.
Yesterday, a colleague of mine said,
if you look at the drugs, sometimes they kind of even resist. And sometimes you have a lot of people walking about with malaria.
Yes.
Without even bothering.
Yes, and there are some people. I have a cousin that she takes 2 drugs. So when she takes this one this month, next month she's taking the other one. There are 2 anti-malaria drugs because she's always down with malaria. So if she takes this one, next month she's buying the other one, like that.
So that it doesn't develop.
Yes.
Well, I hope that we come off this as soon as possible. All right, now we will be taking a look at other papers. Take a look at the News Direct, for instance, this morning. It leads with the story that says FG records 2.3 trillion fiscal deficits, and that's according to CBN. It has the writers that says growth outlook positive but fragile as PIA implementation begins in oil gas sector. Other stories there at the top. Pattern to host African collaboration session at OTC 2022. You have the next story there. 2023, I will be president for all. Amechi assures Deji of Akure, Ondo APC. Osun government commences second-year distribution of food support scheme. Also, you have another one. At the bottom there, NDLEA arrests suspect behind 3 billion naira tramadol linked to Abba Kyari's team. The next one, 15% levy. Customs agents shelve plant industrial action. You have also other stories that, talks about HDMI, Works and Housing Ministry concludes evaluation for first phase of value-added commission. That's on the News Direct, Nigerian News Direct, this morning. Now,
Ayuba, have you noticed that traditional rulers are now like the new bride? People are just visiting them. Politicians are going there one after the other.
And it now looks like religious leaders, on the other hand, are the enemies. Because we are now having some
more religious leaders
who are speaking up,
yes,
in all of this. Because usually, around this period, religious leaders, traditional rulers, these are the persons
that politicians always go
run to, for consultations. I mean, the quote and unquote consultations.
I think the traditional rulers can do the country a favor by actually speaking truth to these people when they come to them. You understand? Ask each of them, okay, you want to be president, how do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? How do you want, not that they just come, ask for the blessings, and then you give the blessing, you know. And then I'm also, it amazes me how maybe 10 aspirants come to a particular traditional ruler and he gives all of them his blessings. What does that really mean?
Well, you know, the visits are not just, you know, just visits, ordinary visits. Something will definitely have to.
Well, they should use that opportunity to speak to them. Tell them that, okay, it's not just about seeking my support. It's not just about seeking my blessing. When you come in, this is what you must do. I think that's an opportunity, a golden opportunity provided the traditional rulers at this time.
But, you know, I'm skeptical, you know, about this, Stella, because, you know, culturally and traditionally, do you eat, do you talk while you eat? I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well, maybe they shouldn't eat. Just talk.
You're going to go hungry.
No, they should. Okay, that is where their conscience should come into play. This man has come to you. This is your opportunity to tell him, we don't want it the way we have always had it. You know, you're coming to me now. What is your agenda? How do you want to go about it? How many points agenda? You have 5. How do you want to go about it? You know?
Well, I hope we get to that point.
This is the time to ask these questions. And at this point, these politicians are very respectful of these traditional rulers. So they'll listen to them.
I hope. I hope that we'll get to that point, really, you know, and that is, and until when we decide to set our priorities right, you know, and decide to make the sacrifices, you know, that needs to be made at this point.
And to look at the bigger picture, not just that immediate benefits.
Yeah, but until then, you know, traditionally,
you don't eat
you don't
and
talk while you eat. Yeah,
okay, noted.
All right, now let's take a look at, you know, other papers. Now, the national economy this morning, it leads with the story that talks about unemployment, poverty exposed Nigerians to Ponzi schemes. You have also Elon Musk wins takeover battle, closes Twitter deal for $44 billion. The other stories there, FG recorded 2.23 trillion fiscal deficit in the fourth quarter of 2021, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria. 15% levy, agents shelf plan strike by 1 week. And then FG to concession 42.74 billion metric tons of bitumen reserve. Stakeholders fault divestment by IOCs from onshore assets. I feel like I'm reading the Nigerian News Direct because they share similar stories on the national economy.
With the national economy, right?
Yeah.
But this is their lead story. Unemployment, poverty exposed Nigerians to Ponzi schemes.
Yes.
Is that the reason, or greed? Some other people, some experts have said that it's greed.
Well, it's a I think that it's a combination of both, because when you are greedy and needy at the same time, it gets desperate. You know, people can.
For me,
get
I
desperate.
think it's greed more than any other thing, because they tell you put 10,000 here in a month, you're going to get 50,000. I mean, no matter how poor you are at that point, when you ask yourself something like, how are they going to translate 10,000 into 50,000? Because that's a lot of money, right?
In 2 weeks or in
2 weeks or 3 weeks. Because what kind of business are you going to do that will give you that kind of profit? You know, so I think it's great, and that's why more people keep falling victims all the time.
I mean,
and no matter how much you talk about it, more people fall victims.
I mean, I mean, no matter how much it happens, because I mean, aside talking about it, Nigerians have had experiences with these Ponzi schemes. You know, not now.
They have.
I mean, the most recent, the MMM, that was national.
That one was popular. Would you believe that some people had seminars in even religious houses to talk about this MMM? And you know, a lot of people are at such places. So a lot of people keyed into it, even though it looks, I mean,
legit.
It didn't look legit. It didn't look legit at all.
Because
the profit,
because, yeah, you know, somehow it looks legit.
Any profit that is too good to be true should raise.
How did Nigeria became confident about, you know, the whole thing in the first place?
It's greed.
You know, first of all, there was a bait, you know, that was used, and a lot of people fell for it. They felt, oh, okay, I put this amount and I got this amount. Oh, it's true, it's working.
You know, the people
And then
behind it,
a lot of people
the people behind it are smart. So it's not as if the first set of people will not get their money. They do that to get more people, because those first set of people are the ones, they are the ones that will take the good news, as it were, to others that, oh, I put my money here and I got. So these people that are behind it, they are very strategic.
Well, I agree. But again, I think that truly unemployment, it's a major factor because, I mean, look at the demographics of people participating in some of these Ponzi schemes. You know, a majority of them are young people.
And unemployed.
Who are, a lot of them young people and jobless.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because they are greedy, but maybe they feel like, oh, this is a way out.
This is
I've been looking for how to survive. I'm looking for how to, make ends meet and all of that. And this offers me an opportunity, so maybe I should take it. So there's that desperation that comes in.
Ayuba, do you really believe that if the employment rate goes up and unemployment rate reduces, it will reduce the number of people going into Ponzi schemes? Take into consideration the fact that so many people have lost their money until today. We are still talking about them in this country.
Well,
you see someone.
The unemployment rate decline?
No, it hasn't. But Ayuba, you see someone before you, he has lost money. Why would you put your money again?
Perhaps maybe that person's story is different.
Or maybe like they think, like we like to say in Nigeria, it's not lucky, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The luck didn't shine on him.
Okay.
But hey, you have to be cautious.
Yes. Anything that looks too good to be true, just take it back.
And it's likely too good to be true.
Yes. Anything that looks too good to be true is indeed too good to be true.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now let's take a look at other stories on the Leadership newspaper this morning. For instance, we have the lead story that talks about 2023 presidency, citing fairness, Southern Middle Belt leaders make case for Southeast. You also have other stories. Leadership Award, NNPC achieved this by teamwork, and that's according to Kerry. Other stories, world richest man Elon Musk buys Twitter for $44 billion. And then reps postponed resumption of plenary. Police officer kills 2, injures others at Lagos party. That's the story we saw on the Daily Trust earlier. Niger court awards 1 billion naira against truck owners for blocking highway. I think that's commendable.
It's commendable because that happens a lot.
Yes, and I hope that it will be fully implemented so that people will not
they hold citizens to ransom a lot.
Abba Kyari, NDLEA arrests drug baron behind 3 billion naira tramadol deal. These are the stories on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. Elon Musk is up there. Good for him.
Very good for him. I saw it yesterday. I was like, nice.
He's making a lot of money.
The rich keeps getting richer, right?
Well, and it also takes, for some of them to be smart.
Yes.
It's always the smartest
And they're always thinking ahead. They're always planning ahead as well.
All right.
Ayuba, look at this story. Citing fairness, Southern Middle Belt leaders make case for Southeast.
Well, we'll always make that case, and I hope that let's even take a look at the rider. It says, "Go and put your house in order." Afenifere tells Igbo politicians. Northern stakeholders warn against pitting North against South. That's that. For that story. Well, we'll continue to make the case for national cohesion and integration. And if politics and zoning or rotation of power or whatever it is will, make that happen, well,
so
perhaps it should be considered.
Maybe it should be considered.
And some kind of, sharing formula.
A middle point can be reached, where everybody feels like...
some kind of compromise where everyone in the country will feel, part of the system, will feel, belonging to the system, so that the person knows that I have a stake in this system. I need to work towards making sure that this works.
And one thing I don't even like to see anymore, this thing of Southern, Northern, this making statement, the other one countering, and I don't think this is the time for it. This is a time for all parts of the country to come together. If what we're looking at is a successful election in 2023, people should come together and look at how it can work.
Yes, and let's focus on the issues.
Yes, let's focus on the issue. Let's forget about regions. Let's downplay that. Let's look at one Nigeria for once. I would like that.
Very interesting. Even though we have, the background to this, the roots of Nigeria, from how Nigeria evolved and all of that, is part of the reasons why these conversations have continued to fester till today.
Yes.
But I mean, I think Nigeria has come of age.
Yes, we have come of age, and I think that we can tell ourselves that enough of that. Let's have a new direction. This direction of north south. No, one Nigeria and what's best for the entire country.
True.
Let's see that happen. It would be nice.
And well, some people have argued also that it's the politicians that are really pushing this down the throat of Nigerians. The ordinary Nigerian do not care about who becomes the president, really. But what he cares is what happens to his life, what happens to his standard of living. Is his life changing? Is his life improving? That's paramount.
But then, what is the population of the politicians and then the population of the Nigerians? So Nigerians should learn to say, okay, we have heard all of this before. You people have come to us. You've tried to divide us before. Not anymore, And
I hope so. All right, now let's take a look at the next segment on the program, My Daily Hustle. It's where we get to see how Nigerians are, fending for themselves and putting food on their tables from day to day. Take a look.
My name is Stephen Umaru. I am a shoemaker. I learned this work more than 4 years now. Since 2014, I was with my boss. Now I'm the boss of myself. And I have 7 boys. 4 have graduated. The remaining boys have went to school. I'm with my boys for now. I was at home doing nothing. I can't stay at home just doing nothing. I don't have work at home. I just eat, sleep and bath. It was not good for me. So my dad told me that he wanted me to learn work. I said, okay, no problem. Now ask me which work do you like to learn. Then I would like to make palm. Like, no problem. Now take me to across. There's a man there which is making palm. Now take me to there and he paid the money and I learn. When I'm done, I went home. I was working at home, working, selling palm. My father now have this container for me, now rent it for me and give me that they have rented shops for me. I should come and manage it. Gradually, he now bought the sewing machine for me and some of the tools. Out of this business, I've helped myself in schools. I buy some of the tests with my money. I pay for some of the PTA meeting, etc. All those things. I used to pay for myself. My father paid the school fees. You don't know about the uniform and sandals. I do it myself. Some of my customers, I meet them on Facebook. I usually post my picture, my product on Facebook, WhatsApp. So I get some of the customers through there. Some of them come to my shop to make palm. Some of them on Facebook and WhatsApp. I work for them. I do clean work for them. I don't give promise and fake. Come tomorrow. I give them a good work they want. If there's market, I make more than 10 a day. If there's no market, I make 2, 3, 4. Problem that I'm in this container. It's too hot. That's the problem, and I don't have the complete machine. I need some of the machine because if I have some of the machine, I will not suffer like this. Because there's some work that I'll do in minutes, but I'll do more than an hour because I don't have the machine. I need filing machine. I need light. I need lance. These are the lance. I need them side by side.
Daily, we bring you updates around politics.
People like you who are very young, you have no future. Anybody now who is 30 years, if what is happening to them continues, by the time you are 60, you will have no country.
The DPO of a particular unit does not have to wait until the commissioner tells him what to do within his jurisdiction.
We have political parties on the ground. Some of them have been there for years. But they themselves, in their own sober moments, they know that this country is not the one they're expecting to run.
Policy and governance.
Are you saying the NBS is lying?
I'm saying to you very clearly that the NBS has a serious problem with accurate data till today.
The 5th Assembly, as well as the 7th Assembly, their own attempt were unproductive.
Emergence of the Taliban has simply emboldened terror groups globally.
There is a lot of attention with regards to security developments in Nigeria.
On Daily Politics, we interrogate issues, holding the actors to account, bearing in mind all the sides.
We heard that in some places now, people have to go and pay tax, not to the local government, not to the state, but to criminals.
Nobody can come to your house and kidnap you without information.
If this country is bleeding, it is bleeding because we have failed to educate our young.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story. This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Candid Talk on Trust TV with Zainab Suleiman Okino. We look at various issues affecting us as a people and discuss it with a view to changing things for the better.
Those things are a reflection of the peculiarities of our society as Nigeria, and also things you see in a developing country like ours. Don't forget that Nigeria is more of a nation of many nations, if you would.
So you must have known so much now about cervical cancer.
My knowledge of cervical cancer revolves just around my wife and the symptoms she went through. I just couldn't bring myself to read about it. But unlike her, she was all over the net, studying it, reading about it.
Are those wishing or wanting to lead now, do you think they have proper training?
Now we are in democratic dispensation. You can't just say, okay, I've lead politics, let me just go and be a technocrat and an apple. No, you must get people that are well-to-do, even technocrats should get involved so that their decision can be able to reshape the future of the country.
All right, thank you for staying with us. And if you're just joining, you're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. For the benefit of those who are just joining us for the first time, and if you haven't seen me on your screen before, my name is Ayuba Ilya, and I usually don't do this alone. I'm with my co-anchor.
Okay, indeed, for the benefit of those just joining, my name is Stella Yaji, and just saying, this show begins at 6 a.m. every day of the week. Do well to join us. So
you are like an hour late.
Yeah.
Joining the program. Now let's take a look at the headlines of what we are looking at today. The NDLEA arrests billionaire drug baron linked to 3 billion naira carries IRT tramadol deal.
President Buhari felicitates with Macron on his re-election.
And then intending pilgrims protest over 100% hike in Hajj fare.
Now the stories and details. Some intending pilgrims in Lagos on Monday stormed the Alausa Government House to protest the 100% increase in the cost of the 2022 Hajj fare. The pilgrims said they had already made payment for the 2020 Hajj since 2019, which did not hold because of the COVID-19 pandemic. They said to their dismay they got a message from the State Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board to pay additional 1.3 million to balance the payment made since 2019. They called for the intervention of the state governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and the speaker, Mudashiru Obasa.
President Muhammadu Buhari has rejoiced with French President Emmanuel Macron for winning his second term in office. The president, in a statement issued on Monday by his spokesman Garba Shehu, also felicitated with him for making history as the only sitting leader of the country to return in 2 decades. President Buhari said the iconic leadership style of the French president, who spent 6 months in Nigeria working as an intern at the French embassy in 2002, had continued to inspire a new generation of leaders and interest in politics and governance, starting from his country and beyond. He said the re-elected French president had consistently created lines for improved ties in economy, culture and security, which had culminated in France-Nigeria Business Council African Culture Season in 2020 and the France-Africa Summit.
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, on Monday said the billionaire drug baron fingered in the $3 billion tramadol deal involving the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari-led Intelligence Response Team, IRT, is now in its net. The spokesman of the agency, Femi Babafemi, disclosed that the arrest was made after months of surveillance and Ukatu's evasion of arrest, adding that Ukatu, who is the chairman of Malison Group of Companies, was eventually nabbed on board a flight to Abuja at the MM2 terminal of the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos. Babafemi said investigations revealed that Ukatu has been a major importer of large consignments of different brands and high dosages of tramadol hydrochloride ranging from 120 milligram, 200 milligram, 225 milligram, and 250 milligram, all of which are illicit.
Well, I mean, I must say that this is commendable by the NDLEA. It's usually not easy to track the kingpins. I mean,
Yes.
the barons themselves, because usually
you get the couriers,
yeah,
you get the boys that they send, but the main
Exactly.
people, it's always a difficult
It's always
task.
very difficult because they work in cartels, and it's this person.
They're very
and
good
then
at
you
evading
lead-
arrest.
you talk, exactly. So it's quite impressive what the NDLEA is doing. Now let's take a look at other stories today. We have the story about members of the Southwest Agenda for Asiwaju visited Daily Trust headquarters on Monday to seek support of the organization towards the 2023 general election. According to them, the media plays a vital role in bridging the gap between the politicians and the people. Let's take a look at the report.
The group, which is led by its chairman and former Senator Dayo Adeyeye, commended Media Trust Limited for the successes it has recorded so far in carrying out its media operations. According to him, the visit is part of preparation ahead of 2023 general elections for Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
And I want to commend you also for the additions you have made to your products. You now have a television and also a radio station.
Yes.
We are canvassing for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In another 1 month or so, the primaries will be decided. We are hopeful and optimistic that he will win the primaries. And then we enter into a new phase, which is now general election campaign. At this time, we are working for that one already. That's why we are here.
Dayo Adeyeye also said he's optimistic about Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the polls as more people continue to rally around him.
When I say 14 million votes, I say it with all sense of responsibility, without any fear of contradiction at all going forward. He will command at least 14 million votes today in the Southwest. And that is conservative estimation.
The general manager of Trust TV and deputy editor of Daily Trust newspaper thanked the group for paying the visit, assuring them of getting the right information to its readers and viewers as the polls draw closer.
We want to have a point of call, somebody we can reach out to say, we want to speak to somebody from your campaign, or we want to know what your campaign is doing, so that we'll be able to reflect those aspirations of your candidate in our coverage.
We believe that the road to Aso Rock for Asiwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but as well as for any other candidate, will pass through our audience. We have that platform, and we are here, and we will be happy to cooperate with you and work with you in getting stories to our readers and our audiences.
All right, well, that was the courtesy visit to Daily Trust headquarters here in Abuja. I'm sure that we're looking forward to working with the politicians the best way possible in the interest of Nigerians.
We're here to give voice to all of them.
Yeah. All right, now let's take a look at the next story now. Leaders of the Southwest, Niger Delta and Middle Belt geopolitical zones have appealed to Nigerians to, in the spirit of fairness, allow the Southeast geopolitical zone to produce the next president of the country. They made the appeal on the sidelines of the Greater Nigeria Conference, which took place on Monday at the International Conference Center in Abuja. The conference is attempting to convince the 16 presidential aspirants of Southeast extraction to present a united front. This report is put together by Shafiu Suleiman. Take a look.
The political class of the Southeast extraction have been crying marginalization, especially in the polity. They've been out of the saddle for decades now. At least they've lost touch with the exalted presidency, talking about the president and the vice president of the federation. For over the years, they've been working hard to stage a comeback into the mainstream politics in Nigeria.
One after the other, the leaders of Afenifere, Niger Delta and Middle Belt forums stress that it is imperative for political power to shift to the southeast to address perceived marginalization in the nation's leadership structure.
We believe that it is clumsy and inelegant for the southwest to seek the presidency at this time. Not after Obasanjo's 8 years as president and Osibanjo's 8 years as vice president. By design, the zoning and rotation policy is supposed to make it possible for each of Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones to occupy the seat of president for 8 years over 48 years period.
The problem is ourselves. Let us unite. And let the Yoruba and the Igbos know that they have a stake to talk together.
Going down memory lane, leaders of the socio-cultural groups identified what they call reasons behind the inability to have a greater, inclusive and prosperous Nigeria. One of the objectives of the forum is to bring together the various presidential hopefuls in the sub-region for the purpose of speaking with one voice irrespective of their political leanings.
As Senator, for the peace and sanity of this country.
Critical challenges the region will be facing ahead of this election will be its ability to tame the violent agitation that has been plaguing the region, characterized by armed groups such as the indigenous peoples of Biafra, which has been proscribed by the federal government, and other armed groups. Again, the region will also have to consolidate its effort towards playing an inclusive politics where it will belong to the larger Nigerian project, so as to have a fair share of its place in the larger Nigerian picture. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Well, that's Shafiu Suleiman with that report. Well, thank you so much for bringing that to us. I hope that consensus candidate will eventually emerge from the southeastern region, as they are attempting to do. A host of people really from the southeast are actually indicating interest of running for the presidency.
It's a good thing they are coming together. Like you said, I'm hopeful that they're able to put their best forward and let Nigerians decide.
Yeah. And, well, whether it's fair or not, well, that's a decision for Nigerians to make. Now, we will take some more papers at this point, and we have this time around joining us in the studio, Director, Daily Trust Foundation, Dr. Theophilus Abba, to give us perspectives on some of the stories on the front pages of our newspapers this morning. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak.
Thank you very much. I'm glad for being given the opportunity to be part of this morning show.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right. Now, let's begin with Daily Trust this morning. We've already looked at that, but we'll take a look at it again now, beginning with the lead story on the paper. It says, ahead of Salah, airfares skyrocket. And then you have the riders that says Lagos to Sokoto now 120,000. Operators cite demand and supply forces. And then also only tax relief will reduce pressure, experts are also saying. And then you have the next story there at the top, North bigwigs dividing South to retain power. That's according to Afenifere. No apologies, rejecting zoning, Northern elders say. Imo residents fear epidemic as mass burial fails to hold. You also see other stories below the pictorial. 18 firms shortlisted to toll Abuja, Lokoja, 11 other roads. And then at the very bottom, bandits run out of fuel, abandon 10 motorcycles in Abuja. 2023, it will be injustice to Nigeria if I don't contest. That's according to Vice President Osibanjo, presidential hopeful. A drunken cop kills 2 at Lagos birthday party. These are the stories on the front page of Daily Trust newspapers.
Now let's take a look at the stories on the front page of Blueprint. It says, World Malaria Day. U.S. pledges support as Nigeria ranks highest globally. We have the rider there that says loses 200,000 lives, spends 646 billion annually to tackle scourge. Nigeria, DR Congo, Tanzania, Mozambique account for half of global deaths. This is coming from the WHO. We spent 850 million on anti-malaria commodities in 2021. Then we have the story at the top there. The Northern Elders Forum to the presidency, leave Kuka out of weapon delivery delay. We also have the story under the pictorial, Kyari, NDLA nabs billionaire in tramadol deal. 2023, Northern PDP stakeholders reject Saraki Bala as consensus candidates. We have the story there that says, Nigeria's fiscal deficit hits 2.23 billion in fourth quarter of 2021. Still on the Imo incident, casualties in Imo illegal refinery fire rise to 110. Then there's the story here. It's on page 22 of the paper. You have AFDP forecast food energy price hikes in Nigeria. We also have this Russia-Ukraine war, Nigeria bakers hike bread price.
All right. All right, now let's take a look at the Nation newspaper this morning. The lead story says, PDP, ex-governors, aspirants reject consensus candidate. You also have the writers that says, Obi, Ngige, Umahi, Anyim, rally ethnic nationalities for Southeast presidential bid. Igbo leaders deny Wike Amechi. Rivers governor donates 200 million naira in Kaduna. You also find other stories at the top there. The Nation's Ololade wins Global Journalism Award. APC begins sale of forms in Abuja states. And then also, suspect in OAU students' death slumps in court. World's richest man, Elon Musk, buys Twitter for $44 billion. Other stories there, beside the pictorial, Alaafen's body buried according to tradition, says Oyo High Chief. These are the stories on the front page of The Nation this morning.
Let's look at the front page of The Punch. Electoral Act, Amechi Ngige, others risk disqualification over failure to resign. Then we have a rider there that says, we will disqualify them as screening if they fail to resign. That's coming from a party chieftain. APC submits register to INEC ahead of deadline. Commences sale of forms today. Then at the top we have FG shortlists bidders for Lagos, Badagry, Seme, Lagos, Abeokuta, 10 other highways. Then presidency group differs as Ohaneze Adebanjo won Jonathan. Blame military, not Kuka, for Tucano's delay. This is coming from the Northern Elders Forum. We also have the story here. Manufacturers borrow 1.03 trillion from banks. Debts hits 4.2 trillion. And there's the story here. We have Ondo lawmaker fumes as power cable kills 4 plain children. Then there's the update on the Chrisland saga. Sexual acts. Chrisland 10-year-old pupil deletes social media videos, tenders apology. Then we have, there's also the story on the Carry, the Super Cup. Drug baron with 103 bank accounts nabbed at Lagos Airport. These are the major stories on the Punch for this morning.
All right. Now let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper this morning and have a look at the stories. Now, the lead story, it says, North plots to retain power. Feniferi, Pandef, others are alleging. You have other stories there that says, despite security assurances, Imo residents comply with sit-at-home order. Weapons delay. Blame military, not Kuka. Northern elders tell presidency. You also have NDLEA naps alleged billionaire drug baron links to Abakari's team. Douglas, ex-minister, dies in Abuja. Other stories, beside the pictorial, we regret supporting Buhari in 2015, says Unongo. Twitter, Nigeria agreement suffers setback as Musk buys microblogging platform. Abe dismisses APC consensus, vows to contest Guba polls. Then you have NIMSI, server glitch invalidates LinkedIn's, leaves subscribers stranded. You have others there. 2023, again, North consensus confusion, task PDP on fair play. These are the stories on The Guardian this morning.
And on the Daily Sun, we have 2023, Jonathan steps up consultation on APC move. There's a writer there that says his defection declaration underway. That's according to his supporters. There's another writer, ex-president's plan to recontest ex-president's plan to recontest national service since campaign coordinator. Then there's at the top right, we have 2023. Igbo leaders urge Southeast aspirants to press on with presidential bid. It would be great injustice if I didn't contest, Oshibajo. There's a story right beneath that. Dollar scarcity hits banks. Then we have this other story here. I have capacity to rescue Nigeria from current mess. That's coming from the former Senate President, Bukola Saraki. Then we have this story here at the bottom. Nasu Sanu extend warning strike by 1 month. Those are the major stories on the Sun for today.
All right, on Daily Independent, take a look at more. The lead story talks about 2023 presidential election. It says, I will betray Nigerians if I don't contest. That's according to Osinbajo. It has the other stories there. It says, NDLEA arrest suspect behind 3 billion naira illicit drug links to Kyari's team. FG to concession 42.74 billion metric tons of bitumen. PDP women plot winning strategy ahead of the 2023. PENCOM revises regulation on retirement terminal benefits. Telecom sector's GDP growth rate faces decline. MTN Nigeria issues to 127 billion naira commercial paper. Musk strikes $44 billion deal to buy Twitter. And then at the top, you see PDP Northern stakeholders reject Saraki Mohammed as consensus presidential aspirant. Nnamdi Kanu sues chief judge, registrar over secret trial. These are the stories on Daily Independent. Let's take perspectives on this now. Some of the stories that we have with our reviewer on the paper. Director, Daily Trust Foundation, Dr. Theophilus Abba is with us in the studio this morning. Thanks again for joining. Now,
thank you.
Let's talk about some of the stories that we've seen. The back and forth between the presidency, and Bishop Matthew Kukah. The blame game about the delay in the acquisition of military hardware allegedly caused by Bishop Matthew Kukah. And the Northern Elders Forum is wading into this matter. Is there justification for this? Should we be having this kind of conversations at this point?
Well, the fact is that the American government has a criteria, for selling weapons to countries, and I know that Nigeria, has made a deliberate attempt to meet those criteria for, accessing weapons produced in the United States. And I don't think Bishop Kukah played an active role in saying, look, don't sell weapons to the Nigerian government, to fight terrorism or terrorists. Because I know Bishop Kukah has been very, very active in, campaigning against terrorism and urging the government of Nigeria to deal with terrorism the way we could have it as part of the Nigerian history, as a past event. So I don't think Bishop Kukah would deliberately go to the United States and say, look, don't sell weapons to Nigeria. But I know that Kukah has raised issues concerning the treatment that Nigerian Christians have received in the hands of mainly non-state actors, like bandits and like terrorists. And he has said government has not done enough to curtail them, And in the United States, which takes strongly anything that has to do with abuse of human rights, you don't joke with it, some of the rights that Bishop Kukah talks about being violated and the rights of Christians in Nigeria. And he discusses them with evidence, with data and all those. So I'm thinking that government should, find other ways, of convincing the United States government to send weapons, to Kanu, to Nigeria. They shouldn't be blaming Bishop Kukah, because those two things are not technically related.
And this may have been birthed as a result of the criticism of Bishop Kukah, against the presidency. Otherwise, we've not heard this until after his recent message, his Easter message, that we saw in the usual way will cause reaction in the presidency, isn't it?
Yes, it's true, because I know Bishop Kukah has consistently, talked about governments in Nigeria. There's no government that Bishop Kukah has spared. He didn't spare Jonathan, and I don't think previous governments actually, got any soft, kind of criticism from Kukah. Every government that has that has been in Nigeria had been criticized by Bishop Kukah, almost everyone. And so I don't think that criticism of the Buhari government is in isolation. It's not like he's taking it up. He's particularly criticizing the Buhari administration just for the fun of it. And if you read the Easter message, you discover that everything Kukah said is a reflection of the reality on ground. There's nothing Kukah said that didn't have a link with what Nigerians are passing through. When he says Nigerians are in dismay, the country is in disarray, things are broken down. If you took time to read that homily, you discover that there's nothing really strange, that Kukah said, which perhaps others have not said. Maybe because it is Kukah, they felt that he doesn't see anything good in the administration, so he keeps criticizing. So I'm thinking that government should not blame Kuka if these things didn't come. They should have a channel of linking up with the American government. They should have their own way of lobbying the American government to ensure that this equipment needed to fight terrorists come. I think they should leave Kuka out of this predicament.
Well, Bishop Kuka is not the first cleric that has even raised issues about the insecurity in the country. Some other clergymen have done that. And most times the presidency responds. And a lot of Nigerians are saying that maybe the front and back, the response and counter responses are not helping the system, that maybe instead that there are other ways the government can handle these criticisms. What do you say to that?
Well, there are other ways government can handle those criticisms because I don't think it is necessary to respond to every criticism, especially, by religious leaders. Of course, a homily is a message to his congregation, even though it gets publicity because of his status. But I'm thinking that instead of responding in the manner, which government responded, if there are issues of facts, if what Kuka said are not factual, you can fault him and say, this that Kuka said is not true. If it's an argument that does not align with what is on ground, but then for you to rubbish him and to insult him, it is not the right thing to do. And I felt that instead of, taking on Kuka the way government has done and even blaming him for bilateral issues, they ought to maybe either keep quiet, or find other means of interacting with him, if necessary.
All right, one other story that dominated the papers this morning is about the PDP consensus candidacy, the back and forth about whether the Northern Elders, endorsed the Bala Mohammed and the former President Bukola Saraki or not. There have been allegations and counter allegations here and there on all of that. Is that really necessary for the party now?
Actually, the PDP is in a dilemma, and I sympathize with them because they started this rotation of a thing. They were the ones who entrenched in their constitution that the presidency will rotate between North and South. And if you do the arithmetic of the rotation, Obasanjo spent 8 years, Yar'Adua spent barely 3 years. Then Jonathan spent about 5 years. Is that known? And after that, you now discover that, under the PDP, the South has actually benefited from the presidency more than the North. And now coming to say that in 2023, the presidency should still be in the South. It's like it's a dilemma to the PDP. So I think there is real confusion, in the PDP at the moment. And talking about consensus, may not actually be it. There can be consensus when there's this kind of dilemma. But members of the party must be made.
In any case, how should a consensus even be taken? In this instance, we've heard about groups of people who met, in the name of Northern Elders, PDP Northern Elders.
Yes.
And clearly it's not the Northern Elders Forum that we know, but PDP Northern Elders. So I'm now wondering, we have another group with that name, or are they also same members from the Northern Elders Forum who are members of the PDP that decided to take this decision and that is generating such reactions and all of that? So how should a consensus even be be agreed upon?
Actually, a consensus should be among the party members. That means the party, usually if you talk about a consensus, the party members will come clearly to say, we want this candidate as the party's candidate. They will not need to to go into the kind of rancorous indirect or indirect voting. But you will say, okay, all of us, this person has been suggested to us by the executive as the leader. All of us will now vote and say, yes, we agree that this should be the party's candidate. That is how a consensus is supposed to be. Now, for a group within the party to come up and say, look, this is our consensus candidate, that cannot be representative of the decision of the political party, and that is the PDP, as a group. It cannot stand, because at the moment, there are several members of the party who are interested in the presidency. And then you cannot come out, a group of persons cannot come to say, this is the person who should be our candidate. It doesn't work. You have to carry the whole party along. And the party is made up of members from all the geopolitical zones, not only the North.
And Dr. Oba, I was even thinking, this is a party that is still thinking to zone or not to zone. Should consensus issue be talked about now? Because they haven't trashed that yet. Some parts of the country in the same PDP are saying no to zoning this time. Some are insisting on zoning. So don't you think that issue ought to have been trashed before the issue of consensus comes? Because if at the end of the day they say it's going to be zoned to a particular area and already you say there's a consensus candidate, how does that work? Actually, from what is happening in the PDP at the moment, I don't think even zoning can help them. I don't think zoning can help the PDP, because almost every governor who is serving his second term in the PDP wants to be president, from the north and from the south. So when you talk about zoning, it means that there has to be an agreement among the party members, something that is clear, that a section of the country must produce the president. And that is when zoning can make sense. But as far as the PDP is concerned, from my own regions of the PDP, you see, the atmosphere in the party is not conducive for declaring that a particular section of the country should produce the president. It's different from what is happening in the APC. Clearly, in the APC, the North has served for 8 years. So it is now, in terms of, when we talk about justice and equity, it should now be the turn of the South to produce the next president of the party. That is very, very clear. In the APC? In the APC. Yes. But as far as the PDP is concerned, that is not really as straightforward as that. But is this not creating more problems and confusion for us? This concept about, zoning and all of that. Like now, for instance, the groups like Afenifere, Pandev are, suspicious of some of this move. They are feeling that this is a ploy, by the North to retain power, in the region. So, if you think about it, the whole concept about zoning and all of that, is it not creating more problems? Well, let me start by saying that zoning was an arrangement to ensure that power moves around, from north to south. That is why zoning was put in the party's constitution. Because before the zoning issue, there were arithmetics that showed that a part of the country had ruled for too long, the other parts of the country had not benefited from, presidency or things like that. Now, so when you now talk about zoning, ideally, we should look for the best candidates to run Nigeria. And I use the word ideally. But under the current atmosphere, where, it is apparent that the president of the country determines who gets what, unfortunately. And that's not what it's supposed to be. Over-centralization of power. Over-centralization of power, the winner takes all kind of a thing. It now becomes important to now say, okay, well, so section of the country has benefited, in quote now, so another part of the country should also be made to benefit. And that is actually why in the Southeast is insisting on producing the next president. Because the North has produced, the Southwest has produced, the South has produced, the Southeast has not produced in contemporary history. It is because of this feeling, of ensuring that, power rotates. Given the fact that this
is a major, political element in our politics in Nigeria. Each time it's almost time for elections, you begin to hear some of these concepts, come to the fore. Some said, well, it's elitist, but it looks like that's our reality. Now, to avoid some of these problems, isn't it time for us to maybe consider, formalizing this thing in our constitution? Because if you take a look at it, now the crisis is, there's a dilemma now. In the APC, like you said, the North has been in power for the past 8 years, and ideally it should be rotating to the southern part of the country. But it's not the same for the PDP. In the PDP, the South has had, better part of it, and now the North feels like, oh, it's time for us to also have that. So if you take a look at the various political parties that we have, they may also have their different arrangements that they feel this is how it should go. So the multiplicity there, is it not, making the issue more complex? And to avoid all of that, there should be some kind of meeting point somewhere, don't you think?
Now, if for it to be in the Constitution would be like an overkill, because political parties are the platforms that present candidates. And I think it is at the level of political parties that this zoning arrangement should be formalized. I don't think it should be at the level of the Constitution to say, oh, the Constitution says, I mean, if a northern president, if a northerner was president for 8 years, the next president should come from the south. It would sound like an overkill to me for it to be in the Constitution. But if it is in the constitutions of the political parties, I think it is better. And the issue is that the political parties must then, keep to the agreement, to the contents of their constitution. There will be crises when they begin to violate, what is written in their own, what they have agreed, to implement in their own constitution. So that is when, there will be an issue. And I don't think there's any part of the world, that has a constitution that says, the presidency has to rotate from the north to south and all this and all that. I don't think there's any part of the world where I have seen that in the constitution, unless you want to say, okay, Nigeria is different. But then that tells you that the country is not even united. Because my own problem is that we not had a president, who has carried everybody along. It is because presidents in this country have not carried everybody along that, it's because of that people are now campaigning. I say, look, my own part of the country has not benefited from what we call the national cake. If we have a national president in the real sense of it, a president that carries everybody along, that ensures that, all parts of the country... Can
we ever attain that level, especially if you look at the background, the regional system of government that Nigeria has had right from its foundation, and some of this, ethnicization of, our politics and everything. Is it likely that we, get there anytime soon?
I think, let me put it, I think former President Obasanjo, made a deliberate attempt, to achieve that. Because under his tenure, it's called that he brought people from all parts of Nigeria to be part of the government. And even in the Constitution, it is there, it is enshrined that people from all parts of the country should be part of the government, But then at a point, these constitutionally enshrined principles are bastardized, And you now discover that, instead of keeping to those principles, individuals, individuals who come from, a section where the president has emerged from, may be benefiting more than others. You go to, if you go to MDAs, Ministry, Department, and agencies, you discover that people from a certain section of the country are more as DGs, are more as, having CEO positions more than others. And it is because of this reason that Nigerians are saying, look, we need our own people to become president or even governor or whatsoever. So I'm thinking that if there's equity, if we have a president who says, okay, I want to serve the whole country, I want to carry everybody along, we should get to a point where we don't think about where the president comes from. But as it is at the moment, we have not attained that.
Okay, Dr. Abba, I'm going back to specifics, the PDP. After the PDP lost power and the APC came in, since then they've been in crisis. So much so that a lot of Nigerians felt that they could not provide the needed opposition that they were supposed to do, and holding the APC accountable and querying some of its policies as an opposition was supposed to do. They couldn't do that because of the crisis. Now, on the eve of an election, they are still in this crisis of zoning, consensus, and all of that. Is Nigeria going to have, is it going to be a one-party election in 2023?
I think I fear for the PDP in 2023 because they've actually lost a lot. Now, apart from the fact that, you know, they have not played their role effectively as the opposition party, you agree with me that most of these people or the persons in APC now were actually in PDP. You had a lot of migration from PDP to APC. Of course, the current national chairman of the APC, you know, was an active member of the PDP. That is number one. Secondly, at the moment, APC controls about 22 states, and PDP maybe about 12. You know, so PDP is entering into the 2023 election from a point of disadvantage, and instead of the PDP to come up with a candidate that will have a national appeal, that's what I think. PDP needs. I'm feeling that it's not necessarily zoning that PDP needs at the moment, but I think PDP needs a candidate that will appeal to the whole country, a candidate that will tower over and above party, you know, party, what do I call it, party affiliation. A candidate that Nigerians will say, oh, this is the kind of person who can deliver, whether it is from the north or from the south. I would think that is what the PDP should be looking for. But at the moment, I don't think PDP will make...
Well, like Dr. Abba noted at the beginning, almost everybody, almost every governor in the PDP wants that seat.
Yes.
So do you see a situation where they'll be able to come together, collapse that those ambitions, and be able to say, okay, for the sake of the party, let's look in and bring the best so that we can have, we can go into this election strong.
If the PDP leaders, and when I say leaders, I talk specifically about the governors, because the governors are the ones creating what I call confusion in the PDP right now. You know, because they know they claim they will fund the party and all this and all that. If the governors will come together and say, look, let us put the interest and the survival of our party and Nigeria ahead of our individual ambition, they will be able to achieve it.
And I would think that this new position that we're seeing seems to contradict what we've heard earlier about the PDP, about, you know, them opening up, you know, the space for everyone who is interested to run, you know, under that platform. You know, we're not hearing issues about, you know, zoning, consensus and all of that. It's just until recently we are now hearing that consensus issue becoming louder and louder. So, you know, perhaps what is changing, you know?
I think the report of the Autumn Committee was leaked. And based on that report, it was, it was alleged, let me put it that way, that the report said it should be thrown open, you know? And to me, I felt that that is what the PDP should do, you know? Throw this thing open, let everyone who is interested in the presidency contest. But then come up with a candidate that will be accepted, nationally. Is it because if the PDP doesn't have a candidate that is better than the APC candidate, then he cannot return to power. That is how I put it. Because at the moment, APC is at a disadvantage. Let me put it like that. Because the current situation of this country does not favor them. You know, the insecurity, the economy, so many things. But if the PDP does not, you know, organize itself to produce a candidate that will be seen as an alternative to the candidate that the APC will come up with, then PDP will still lose.
All right, now let's talk about the Electoral Act, the newly signed Electoral Act. We are seeing the Punch leads with the story that says Amechi, Ngige, others risk disqualification over failure to resign. Recall that the new Electoral Act has provided that political appointees are to resign before, you know, they vie for, you know, other political offices and all of that. Are we expecting to see that the law will be fully implemented in this instance?
I think the reason why they have not resigned is because their legal there are legal processes that have not been concluded. I think there are court cases concerning that section of the Electoral Act. You know, the argument is that you can resign even a day into the primary election. You know, the argument is that it's possible, you know, to resign, you know, even shortly before election is conducted. You know, and I think some big wigs in the party who understand the law and who know how the courts will work are still thinking that it's possible for them to stay on until, close to the election.
Well, isn't that dangerous, though? Because, yes, the matter is in court, but there's a time stipulated. So if the court now rules and says that, indeed, that time stands, it's going to, many of them that want to run will not be able to do that at that time.
Well, just like you said, waiting for the court to decide may actually be very risky, but not dangerous. It is a risk. But you see, because of the kind of politicians and leaders in government who are involved in the court case, and I think the Attorney General of the Federation, who is in the governorship of Kebbi State, is actually affected, you know, and being Attorney General, he knows his onions. So he may be thinking that at the end of the day, the case could even go to the Supreme Court, and the case could be decided in their favor. You know, I think that is why they are holding on. You know, but I think if they are not afraid of contesting, in the primary elections, if they are so confident about winning the election, the best thing for them to say, I quit. You know, because it shows that they are not really very confident that if they leave their jobs now, they will get the tickets. You know, and for any politician, you have to have a measure of intelligence to say, okay, well, if I leave what I'm doing now and I contest, what are the variables? Is it going to favor me or not? So they may be considering other factors. And I think that is why they're still.
I'd like for us to, move away from the political issues now and take a look at this issue about the Chrisland School, the 10-year-old pupil. We are hearing that the young lady has deleted her social media videos and also apologized. I want us to talk about the lessons from this experience. This particular story seemed to have shaken a lot of, parents as to the issue of parenting and how deliberate they must be with their children and all of that. What are the lessons here?
Okay, as far as I'm concerned, Chrisland School or college is a very reputable institution, college for training children in secondary school. Very reputable. Because I know they are in Lagos, they're also in Abuja, And I'm feeling that what happened was very, very unfortunate. And I'm feeling also that we should not blame the school alone. As you mentioned, the parents must take responsibility. They must know what their children are doing on social media. I can't imagine a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old girl, because I don't even know, the correct, some say the girl is 13, the others say she's 10, and all this thing, having a social media account and producing videos and uploading them. I'm feeling that for any parent to do that, to allow, their daughter to have a social media account and to be, producing such videos and uploading them is quite irresponsible.
Some parents even open their accounts for babies, even from when they were small.
I think it's totally wrong. And I'm feeling that, you see, our society is imitating too much of what happens in the West. And we are imitating it wrongly. This is the era of, celebrity kind of lifestyle. Everybody wants to be popular. Everybody wants to be well known. They want to say, oh, my child is gifted. She's a good dancer, and upload this on the social media. Now, this is the negative side of such indulgences. So I'm feeling that parents must, be very, very careful. They must monitor their children. There's no way you can allow your child to just do whatsoever he or she wants, either on social media or even at home. Your child cannot just do anything that she wants.
Dr. Abba, I saw a video last week. A woman was taking shisha and she was sharing it with her daughter. The girl couldn't have been more than 6. Yes. Now, do you really believe, because like you said, a lot of Nigerian parents are trying to be very Western. So do you think this Chrisland thing can actually cause a redirection, or they'll see it as one of those things, okay, this particular parent was not careful enough, and move on?
Yes, the fact is that it's a very big lesson that we have learned from what happened, I mean, at Chrisland school. It's a very big lesson for us parents, you know, because, I mean, in church, is an issue that we keep discussing. Even in my church, it was an issue. So we can't allow our children to do this. We can't allow our children to do that. And everybody must be very, very careful. You see, the problem we have is that this laissez-faire attitude, this liberty, you know, that we give to children in the name of allowing them to express themselves, you know, is having a negative, impact on our society. You know, even in the West, I don't think a woman will be taking shisha or alcohol and giving to her own daughter or son, and then allow it, to be video recorded and broadcast.
Exactly, which is one of, which for me is one of the, one of the challenges. Yes, which for me is one of the challenges that we may have to now deal with. Do you think that perhaps we should begin to consider some kind of regulation or censorship of the social media space? Because apparently some parents do not actually care. It's like they do not see the correlation between the moral decadence in the society and what they do on social media, or the way they behave in presence of their children and the implication that it's likely to have on their children, or that they don't care. And the entire society. Exactly, because, sometimes you see parents do certain things and they seem to be proud, things that that children shouldn't be exposed to. But they appear to be proud of those things, that their children are engaged in doing such. As you see kids, dancing in sexual stimulating, positions, or some kind of simulative
and sometimes
nature,
those videos are taken by their mothers.
Exactly.
Shared by the mothers.
So, how do you deal with that when you have parents who actually do not believe that they should censor or they should kind of control the way they behave?
Now, you see, we need to do a lot of campaign, Churches need to do a lot. In the mosque, a lot needs to be done. Then the government has to actually deliberately engage in this campaign. And the government has a lot of instruments. For instance, if the government goes to Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and say, look, every live stream or every video of this kind from Nigeria should not be allowed, to be broadcast, for instance. Then YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or any of the social media platform will now have Nigerians, they will employ Nigerians or contract Nigerians to monitor and say, look, this video is trending, it is not right, according to what we have agreed with the Nigerian government. And those things will be dropped. You see, if you go to other parts of the world, you are likely not going to see some of this, especially the West that we're talking about. The kind of music that, I see on TV channels, you see a young lady, scantily dressed, dancing suggestively, on camera. You see, anything you do on camera must be controlled, sincerely, because anything you put on camera is going to be broadcast to the rest of the world. So you must be very, very careful when you are doing any recording. And when you do any recording, you have to be very, very careful so that it doesn't go out. So if we say as a government that, look, so and so...
But Dr. Abba, the same government has always received backlash each time it has raised
because it's not doing it the right way. The government is not doing it the right way. It's not like arresting journalists, arresting citizen journalists, arresting those who... that is not how you do it. You work with these tech companies and say, look, as a principle, as a law, we don't want this kind of content in Nigeria. Even if it's produced by Nigerians, please take it down. This suggestive sexual content, this exposure, this kind of music, we don't want it. The Film and Censors Board is doing a whole lot along this line to ensure that some movies which are too suggestive are not allowed. You know, you can graduate to, I mean, social media, you know, and ensure that these things are implemented.
Okay.
If the things like that were implemented, that young girl wouldn't be able to post all those videos on
well, unfortunately, because of our time, we'll have to end it. But I'm just tempted to just ask you, and I hope that you'll be able to do this in 1 minute, about the explosion at the illegal refinery in Imo State. A lot is happening. And we saw on Daily Trust newspaper, the mass burial for those that died is delaying. We are concerned about the implication of that environmentally.
Well, I am thinking that it's the failure of our security agencies that led to that crisis, because we say it's illegal. The refinery is illegal. Then why did we allow it to continue to operate? Because if 100 persons had to die, it means that the security agencies in Imo State knew about it. And they knew it is illegal.
And it's bubbling.
And they knew it is bubbling.
For such a number.
You understand? So they ought to have shut it down. They shouldn't have waited for so many people to have died before calling it illegal.
It couldn't have been built overnight.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We thank you for joining us on Daybreak, and we look forward to having you again.
Thank you very much.
Yes. We've been speaking with Director, Daily Trust Foundation, Dr. Theophilus Abba, and he's been the one talking to us about some of the stories on our front page this morning. We'll take a short break, and then when we come back, the show will continue. Please stay with us.
Daily, we bring you updates around politics.
People like you who are very young, you have no future. Anybody now who is 30 years, if what is happening to them continues, by the time you are 60, you will have no country.
The DPO of a particular unit does not have to wait until the commissioner tells him what to do within his jurisdiction.
We have political parties on the ground. Some of them have been there for years. But they themselves, in their own sober moments, they know that this country is not the one they're expecting to run.
Policy and governance.
Are you saying the NBS is lying? I'm saying to you very clearly that the NBS has a serious problem with accurate data till today.
The 5th Assembly, as well as the 7th Assembly, their own attempt were unproductive.
Emergence of the Taliban has simply emboldened terror groups globally.
There's a lot of attention with regards to security developments in Nigeria.
On Daily Politics, we interrogate issues, holding the actors to account, bearing in mind all the sides.
We heard that in some places now, people have to go and pay tax, not to the local government, not to the state, but to criminals.
Nobody can come to your house and kidnap you without information.
If this country is bleeding, it is bleeding because we have failed to educate our young.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story. All right. Thank you for staying with us. And if you are just joining Daybreak, you are watching us, and we are reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. I am not alone. I am Ayuba Ilia, and of course with my co-anchor in the studio.
Thank you for those of you who have been with us since 6 a.m. and for those of you who are just joining us. My name is Stella Iyaji.
All right, let's take a look at the headlines at the top of the hour now. NDLEA arrests billionaire drug baron linked to 3 billion naira carries IRT tramadol deal.
President Buhari felicitates with Macron on his re-election.
Then intending pilgrims protest over 100% hike in Hajj fare.
The news in details. Some intending pilgrims in Lagos on Monday stormed the Alausa Government House to protest the 100% increase in the cost of the 2022 Hajj fare. The pilgrim said they had already made payment for the 2022 Hajj since 2019, which did not hold because of the COVID-19 pandemic. They said to their dismay, they got a message from the State Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board to pay additional 1.3 million to balance the payment made since 2019. They called for the intervention of the state governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and the speaker, Mudashiru Obasa.
All right, now President Muhammadu Buhari has rejoiced with French President Emmanuel Macron for winning his second term in office. The president, in a statement issued on Monday by his spokesman Garba Shehu, also felicitated with him for making history as the only sitting leader of the country to return in 2 decades. President Buhari said the iconic leadership style of the French president, who spent 6 months in Nigeria working as an intern at the French embassy in 2002, had continued to inspire a new generation of leaders and interest in politics and governance starting from his country and beyond. He said the re-elected French president had consistently created lines for improved ties in economy, culture and security, which had culminated in France-Nigeria Business Council, African Culture Season in 2020 and the France-Africa Summit.
Now, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, on Monday said the billionaire drug baron fingered in the $3 billion tramadol deal involving the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari-led Intelligence Response Team, IRT, is now in its net. The spokesperson of the agency, Femi Babafemi, disclosed that the arrest was made after months of surveillance and Ukato's evasion of arrest, adding that Ukato, who is the chairman of Malison Group of Companies, was eventually nabbed on board a flight to Abuja at the MM2 terminal of the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos. Babafemi said investigations revealed that Ukato has been a major importer of large consignments of different brands and high dosages of tramadol hydrochloride, ranging from 120 milligram, 200 milligram, 225 milligram, and 250 milligram, all of which are illicit.
All right, now we will be taking a look at our next discussion on the program this morning. Now, the Igbo didn't begin as the political outcast of Nigeria's seeming tripartite system. In the build-up to the 1959 general elections, which were a pathway to the promised self-government, the political ambitions of the 3 regions were at play. No region instantly dominated the political space, and so it triggered the quest for a coalition in the then parliamentary system. Since the war, the Igbo have become victims of systemic exclusivity. Their desires to stabilize the federation, but a cloud of trust has been hovering over their quest for power, even though the political elites from the other regions seemed to have conspired to bar them from the presidency. Many believe that Alex Ekweme's emergence as vice president to Shehu Shagari between 1979 until they were toppled in the 1983 coup healed the wounds of post-war Nigeria and reassured the Igbo of a place in the federation. Today, we are looking at the 2023 election and how the Igbos are planning to produce the next Nigerian president. We have joined us in the studio the national chairman, All Progressive Grand Alliance, Chief Edozie Njoku, to talk to us about this. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Chief Njoku, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Now, the conversation about Igbo presidency has lingered for quite a while. For decades, we've been talking about this. Almost every eve of election, this issue will come to the fore. Yet, at the end of the day, we do not see it materialize. Why do you think that this is the case? Just go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much again. If you remember, in 2002, APGA was looked at, using it as an example, and it was formed. And the reason why it was formed was a lot of people kept saying the Southeast have less states. The region is less, and it's more difficult for us to be able to go into the larger parties to participate and win elections. So the Igbos came together to say, listen, we need to have a political platform to be able to express ourselves. A Southeasterner will not express the minds of the North will speak for the North, the Yorubas will speak for the Yorubas. The Igbos need to speak for themselves. So we're able to create a political platform so that our people can be able to make decisions. We know what happened in the elections of 2003. It was incredible. We were rigged, because I contested for Federal House in Anambra State. There was a concerted effort to be able to shut the party down. We also see what happened in 1979 when Nnamdi Azikiwe ran. The whole Igbos came together. We won nearly all the seats in the Southeast because we can follow directions. So there's always a sort of a concerted effort. And if you can see also the crisis in APGA. People will say it's the Igbos fighting. No, because I've been in that crisis again, part of it now, since 2019 till today, there's a concerted effort to make sure that things don't settle. But the Igbos, we need to go inwards a bit. We need to carry along the youths as well. And when I mean youths, people who are in their 20s, 30s, and even like for me now, I'm going to be 60 this year. I feel I'm too old to run to be a governor. I'm too old because I don't have the drive I had some years back. So we should also be looking more towards the youthful people to see how we can get things back on track, if that is answering your question.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, it's about the perceived, whether it's perceived or realistic. Well, that's for you to say about inclusion in governance, for the Igbos and all of that. Do you think that we should still be having these conversations at this point, and why have we continued to have them? Issues of ethnic, political leanings, ethnic leanings in our political sphere. Some people feel it's an elitist conversation.
Yeah, we should have. I mean, Nigeria should have gone way beyond this by now, but it's present, and when you're dealing with someone, he needs to feel that he's part of. The Southeast needs to have a sense of belonging. They need to feel that they're part of what's going on in Nigeria. For whatever it's worth, they really do. When you go back to the East, where I'm from, there's no light, there's no water. You can't blame federal government and things. But the normal person down in the grassroots feels that he's not part of the system.
But some will argue that, I mean, it's not exclusive to the Southeast. Yeah. This is the same dilemma. I mean, well, not dilemma, but it's the same experience or the same reality for Nigerians across board.
I agree with you, but when we're talking about people who are not as educated, so you will always they will always look for something to hold on to. And what they can hold on to is that we've been excluded from Nigeria.
Chief Njoku, you said that people from the Southeast need to feel that they're part of the system.
A sense of belonging.
What needs to be done for them to have the sense of belonging?
Like, there's a crisis we've had, which is coming to an end in APGA. People, I don't like saying there's nothing like powers that be. We are the powers that be. We're all Nigerians, we are. But there must be, it's very difficult, the country needs, who is the country if I say the country, but there needs to be a way in which that man down there has a sense of belonging. I'll give you an example. The unrest you have in the Southeast, let me talk about the Southeast. There's a lot of unrest all over the place. But the unrest in the Southeast is because they have nowhere to express themselves politically. They don't have a voice anywhere. So they just go around doing whatever they want. If there was a political voice, if there was an area where people can express themselves, the unrest would be a little bit less.
I do not understand this. You say if there's a political voice. Now, the APGA is one political voice for the people of that region. And that is not to say that they are not part of other parties. Are they applying themselves like other parts of the country are doing?
We had primary elections in APGA in 2018. There were 24 solid men, a CFO of a bank, different people came out to see how they will repair Imo State. 4 days to our primary, somebody was imported from APC to take the nomination of APGA. And he took the nomination. What do you think that will do to the party?
Somebody was imported from the
Somebody
APC?
left his own.
He became a member of the APGA?
Overnight. And
Who admitted him into the APGA?
You see, there's a system. Sometimes we who are the elites, we kind of try to brush things away as if we don't know that there are real powerful things that happen in this country. I've been in court. I won as a national chairman of a convention in 2019. The man who I defeated went to court and got an injunction stopping me from operating and stopping APGA from recognizing me. When he saw he was about to lose, he withdrew and said, we're agreeing. And then suddenly, all I can say, because is that he's still sitting on that chair up till recently. INEC are going to make a decision in a short while. But if I was not someone who was brought up abroad, who I know there is a system, I would have collected money or something and left the system. And that people abroad don't believe that it's possible. But I've stayed in the fight. People are asking me, why are you in the fight? Why have you stayed this long? Because justice has got to be done. The Nigerian situation is a situation because at the level of education, we're not as educated as the people who are abroad. Even if they've not been to university, they're still quite educated, and they look at things differently. People are really pushed to the wall in this country that sometimes I wonder whether we're close to like animals because we've been so pushed to the wall. Not by Buhari, not by the governor, by the system.
Okay, now I want us to talk about governance at the subnational level, where the majority of the people are. We have a tendency as Nigerians to always, put the blames on the central government each time anything happens, whether it's from the most remotest of places, and all of that. No, we hear less about the governors, we hear less about the local government chairman. So, what is missing, in your opinion, that we are not seeing as much engagement between the people and governance at the different tiers of government, especially at the lower level?
One thing about this country is that we're all two-faced. We never really tell the truth. We see the truth clearly and we move our heads away from it. You will see a governor who is not doing anything and he appears somewhere. Rather than asking him the direct questions, we say he's an excellency, and we avoid asking those questions. You go to, maybe because we don't pay taxes the way we should, you go to a function, you see a governor donating 500 million. Nobody can talk because maybe we've not even paid that, we're not feeling it. So Nigeria has got to come to a place whereby we need to educate our minds to be able to come out and really ask questions more and tell the truth. Even in news, if you go for press conferences or things, like people are not asking the right things. They will just be asking things for the person to be comfortable, and it's not fair. The people down there, they are really seeing hell in this country. Not because federal government is, but it's because of us as people. So
Okay, Chief, it's a good thing. You keep talking about the people down there. 2023 is going to present an opportunity for new sets of leaders. And it's a good thing. You are the chairman of APGA.
Yeah.
What is, and we have been hearing of Igbo presidency, Southeast presidency. What is on ground to make that a reality?
A lot of people are doing their works in their various parties. And if we look at APC and PDP, they are bigger than us, in which we understand. If APC or PDP give their ticket to a Southeasterner or Southerner who is Igbo, we will be very stupid, I believe, to now go and start fighting. We'll now come to some sort of an arrangement where we can go that battle. But the most important thing, let me land, is that will APC or PDP do their own and bring it to the Southeast?
Njoku, that's what I keep hearing. If APC gives, if PDP gives, what is the Southeast doing to get it?
You see, that system as well up there is lopsided. That was why APGA was formed in the first place. With the amount of states you have, if there was a primary election done in PDP or APC, it is impossible. Just the same way we have quota system and things for education. You can have some sort of a quota system because the East needs to be brought to be shown that they are part of the system. I didn't say that. I said something of that resemblance. It is impossible the way it is skewed with those 5 states that if you bring a primary election and a Southeasterner cannot win it, with the way local governments are set, it is near to impossible. But the good thing is that APOGA are ready. We are, once it is, let us build our House of Assemblies, our Federal House, our senators, and now move forward to go and start discussing these discussions that you're making. If you notice, I'm being very careful with my words, and I have to be.
All right. You know, I always like to talk about, you know, governance, because I'm sure that if people see your party, APGA, in the southeastern part of the country as delivering dividends,
true,
you know, to the people, true, soon it will spread across the country, true, and people will begin to see it. So, true, in the state where you have had APGA govern, yes, you know, I'm interested in talking about, you know, the lives that are touched, the people that whose lives have changed, yeah, you know, as a result of that. And I always, you know, go back to the issue of the different tiers of government, because, yeah, the truth is, that's the area where we should focus. Yeah. Would you say that if perhaps we've had effective governance at that level, some of the agitations that we are seeing and some of the clamor that we are seeing from the southeastern country, would we be talking about them?
I agree with you. APOGA had a plan when it was registered. Peter took over. If you notice, he was scaled out, but he still took over in court. Things were moving in a proper direction. But suddenly, APOGA government got derailed again, partly even with the crisis we have, whereby people are not facing their responsibilities. We were derailed, and that is something that we are planning very seriously, that we must bring back on rail. You know, some people were asking me the other day about Soludo. I said, Soludo has so much problems in his state. As a governor, he needs to go and tidy up those problems. He has the mind to do that, so let's allow him to focus on that and leave politicians. I reckon one of the best governments we had in Lagos State was when Fashola was there. And because he left politics to Tinubu and he took care of governance. And politics should not be brought so deep into governance. Governance should go away and face the people, whereby politicians play politics. And as soon as you win an election, you should stop being an APOGA. You become a governor of the people, of the entire people, until elections come again. So if you notice, the very minute 2023 is over, we start campaigning again in 2024 for 2027. And we, the people, must be calling government to order and say, no, this is not acceptable. We have the power to do it. And the press is so important, as I keep saying, is the conscience of the people. They have a bigger responsibility, a great responsibility, and they must stand up to that if Nigeria are going to wake up.
All right, now we'll take a look at a report that was put together by one of our correspondents, talking about, you know, a conference that, you know, was held. The idea was to rally support for Southeasterners to come up with a unanimous, you know, candidate in the 2023 general election. So let's take a look at that.
The political class of the Southeast extraction have been crying marginalization, especially in the polity. They've been out of the saddle for decades now. At least they've lost touch with the exalted presidency, talking about the president and the vice president of the federation. For over the years, they've been working hard to stage a comeback into the mainstream politics in Nigeria.
One after the other, the leaders of Afenifere, Niger Delta and Middle Belt forums stress that it is imperative for political power to shift to the southeast to address perceived marginalization in the nation's leadership structure.
We believe that it is clumsy and inelegant for the southwest to seek the presidency at this time. Not after Obasanjo's 8 years as president and Osibanjo's 8 years as vice president. By design, the zoning and rotation policy is supposed to make it possible for each of Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones to occupy the seat of president for 8 years over 48 years period.
The problem is ourselves. Let us unite. And let the Yoruba and the Igbos know that they have a stake to talk together.
Going down memory lane, leaders of the socio-cultural groups identified what they call reasons behind the inability to have a greater inclusive and prosperous Nigeria. One of the objectives of the forum is to bring together the various presidential hopefuls in the sub-region for the purpose of speaking with one voice irrespective of their political leanings.
I have seen it all. For the peace and sanity of this country,
critical challenges the region will be facing ahead of this election will be its ability to tame the violent agitation that has been plaguing the region, characterized by armed groups such as the indigenous people of Biafra, which has been proscribed by the federal government, and other armed groups. Again, the region will also have to consolidate its effort towards playing an inclusive politics where it will belong to the larger Nigerian project so as to have a fair share of its place in the larger Nigerian picture. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
All right, thank you for staying. And well, there you have it. It's all about the Igbo consensus in the 2023 general elections. We have in the studio the national chairman of Progressive Grand Alliance, Chief Edozie Njoku, talking to us about this. Now, talking about this consensus, is it even possible to have this consensus? We have Chris Ngige coming up. We have Rochas Okorocha coming up. You know, we have from the, a bit from the south out,
Orji Kalu,
Orji Kalu, you know, from that
we
same
have
region.
Anyim
Pius is also coming, and then
there are
closely
others
to
in the offing saying they will soon
Rotimi Amechi and the rest of them. Is it possible to have that consensus?
Okay, I like from the list you gave, they were mostly APC. The same way the national chairmanship of APC got this thing out. It's the same way I believe that, because there was a stage in APC, there were so many of them, all from the north as well, all from even from the same state, even from the same local government, who were going for that national chairmanship of APC. A few days before that, everybody fell in line and they got a national chairman. I believe that even if you look at APC before, I believe probably Tinubu wanted to be vice president, but when he saw how things were, they fell in line.
So is it likely that APGA will be joining forces, perhaps, with, you know, any of these candidates to be able to, you know, achieve that?
I was already shaking my head, but I'm not
producing the president.
No, there's a national working committee. So when you're asking APGA, I was shaking my head. I have no right to do that. It's a committee that should. But on myself as a person, I believe that if we're all working towards a Southeasterner or an Igbo person to be president, we also in political parties should also, who are leaders from that zone, should make it easier for us to win, however we do it.
Chief Njoku, you said that it was because the Igbos wanted to have a voice that APGA was formed.
Yes.
Then I'm curious, why is it just in Anambra State? Because there are other states in the southeast. They should have keyed into it, considering that, as you said, it was their voice that wanted to be heard. That is one. Then secondly, that goes back, that now goes to my second question. How serious are the Igbos at becoming president in 2023?
They are very, very serious. And I want to go back to the first thing you talked about. And I've consistently said that there's a concerted, there has been a concerted effort to hold APGA back.
By who?
A concerted effort. Let me, my explanation might make it clearer. The gentleman who came, I watched something, Chepa Sokore was the national chairman of the party. And if you see the way he was knocked off, the way a treasurer, from being a treasurer, became a national chairman, and it passed through, got recognition. I won a convention clearly in 2019. Up till today, it's just now that I'm being recognized, about 3 years after. My tenure is ending about six months from now. How could a party stay vibrant and alive with all that crisis? There's nothing that kills a house more than, is even in the Bible, taking the houseboy and making him the head of the house. The minute you do that, all systems will everything will erupt. And that's the eruption we have in APGA. And politics, if PDP, as PDP was in government, the only way they could have stayed relevant in the Southeast was by causing that crisis we had in APGA.
So you are blaming you are blaming this on external forces.
Then,
why did the members of APGA allow it to happen, though?
You see, there's I made a statement that a national treasurer became our and was screaming foul, 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 and they expelled all of us. The state chairman of APC now, Ugochukwu Agbala, who was a governorship candidate, was suspended and he had to go. Uche Onyeagot was in the federal house. He was suspended and thrown out as a sitting member of APGA. That is what people do when you're trying to bring confusion in the party. But all that is behind us. God has been so kind. I've taken over as the national chairman of the party. And I'm sure that I'll be back here maybe in a year or two for you to say, wow, APGA is really breathing a bit better now. It will take some time, but you'll see the difference in the next few years.
Now, in terms of rallying support for the party, let's talk about in the southeastern region. We haven't seen, well, maybe to the best of my knowledge, there may be, but I'm not aware, presidential candidates under the platform of the APGA, so far, declaring intention and all of that.
There are quite a few expressions of interest, but I'm sure they are looking to see how it plays out in APC and PDP. With the crisis we've had, things are a bit slower than we would have wanted it to be.
As a follow-up to his question, you didn't answer my other question.
Okay,
how serious are the Southeasterners at getting the presidency, and what are they doing to achieve that?
We're very, very serious. They're very, very serious. And the sort of discussions, this is the first time I've seen people, strange bedfellows, actually coming together to say, let's solve this problem. I mean, you don't come out and start screaming about what is being done, but strange bedfellows in the South is from different parties, PDP, APGA, and APC, are sitting down having meetings on how we move forward for this Igbo presidency. Even people from the South with Igbo are also joining in.
There's this issue of distrust among fellow Southeasterners. People always say that they have a problem coming together for a common cause. Do you agree? And is that thing changing?
No, I completely disagree. I used 1979 as an example. When Zik took over, you saw what happened in NPP. It was a complete sweep. In 2003, when P2B won, it was a complete sweep, but we were not able to protect our votes. The people cannot always come together. You understand? I believe that with an organized setting, APGA is building an organized setting. With that organized setting, you will see the restiveness in the Southeast will reduce, and many of them will join politics. Many of them who you hear their names in these crises all around were members of APGA.
Okay, how do you intend to deal with the issues of lack of confidence in the political process? Voter apathy is a major thing in the southeastern part of the country. Each time there's an election. So, and now even coupled with the whole IPOP agitation and insecurity in the southeastern part of the country and all of that, making the situation even worse. So how do you intend to mobilize people and, create awareness and ensure and give people some kind of level of confidence to believe in the political process in itself?
You're very correct. People are abashed of people have lost a lot of confidence in the political, and I would like Nigeria to really think. There's no way in which, from the way you speak, you've lived abroad, and we hardly have your Hausa or your Yoruba or your Igbo. Everybody has their own friends. Nigeria should come together more and give and take. There should be a little bit more give to make us feel, or to make the man in his little ward to feel a sense of belonging. I don't really feel that Igbos are marginalized. That word is not the right word. But they've lost interest. They just do their little business, buy their little generator, do their little things. I believe that there's no government, there's no voting. We need to gradually bring them out of that mindset. And those are the things APGA will do as soon as this crisis has come to an end.
Okay, there's this popular saying that the only thing necessary for evil to thrive is when good men decide to do nothing.
Yeah, to keep short.
It's a popular saying. Edmund Burke said it, and then everyone is picking it up. Now, we have a lot of Nigerians, Igbo indigents who are doing very well. They are successful business people, not just in Nigeria, even
all
abroad,
over the world,
right? Now, how can they bring to bear some of their experiences into the political space, into the governance issues in the Nigeria or the southeastern region, and also help with the changing of the narrative? How can you engage them? How have you been able to?
First of all, we need to, and I say that to my own people, we need to be very cautious of those who we hand leadership to. Whether you're in the House of Assembly, whether you're in the Federal House, because mostly politics in Nigeria is more or less being handed somehow. I don't want to go into that. But we need to be very, very careful so that people who are representing us have a little bit more standards, have a little bit more, they have, believe in themselves. And when they are like that, it is difficult to veer them out and they come out and speak up. Politics in Nigeria now is just food is ready. Everybody just does what needs to be done for the money to come in. It shouldn't be like that. There are lots of great people. But why I latched on to this point, I told you that in 2018, 24 sound people came out to run for the governorship of Imo State. What happened was a big katakata was thrown in there. Suddenly, somebody emerged. No primaries whatsoever. That was what agitated me to come and start fighting again for this national chairmanship. I've run for national chairman of APOGA. This is my 4th time. 2007, 2000, I've been trying it, and every time a consensus has been given and said, no, I should wait, because maybe they look at me as a loose cannon. I'm not a loose cannon, I just tell the truth, and the truth must be told, and we should make sure that more people who come out and say the way it is are brought into governance.
Chief Njoku, you mentioned that the crisis in the region is going down. However,
it's going down.
Yes, the crisis in Southeast.
I didn't say that.
Oh, it's still there, right?
Yeah, there's
you acknowledge that it's still there,
because
still there. Yes, I wanted to point that out because even yesterday there were killings in Imo State. Now, as leaders of that region, what are you people doing to galvanize the youth to tell them that that's not the way to go ahead of the elections? Because some of those attackers, when they come to the people, they tell them that there's not going to be election in 2023. If these people want a change, I want to believe the only way out is an election.
True.
So what are you people doing? And also, recently an INEC official was killed in that region. And when they went to meet the person, they said to him that we have said we don't want election in this region, and that was why they killed the person. What are the leaders of that region doing to ensure that the youth have a redirection on all of this?
Okay. In any area, you don't plant leaders. Leaders are created from ground upwards. You will know who is your leader. As soon as somebody is foist on you, then you'll be revolted. You don't want to hear what he's saying. With what has happened in APOGA now, people won't understand it. They see the difference. Younger people can now come out and say things are changing a bit. We've been able, because nobody ever believed that we could do what we've done. So you start seeing that leaders who are true leaders, you don't have to be 70 years or 80 years to be a leader. There are young men who have been leaders in their nans and things, and they have their own constituency that they are leading, not because they are voting or because you plant him there. And they are able to reach those places, say, calm down, come out, let's vote.
My question is there a conscious effort by a group of people in the East to bring the youth together and tell them that this IPOB way, these attacks are not the way to go?
I'm telling you that APOGA is doing that now. We've made it clear that the only way there will be a solution is through a political solution. It's got to be through politics. You must sit down with the other man, swallow some of the rubbish he's telling you, and he'll swallow some of the rubbish you are telling him. But you need to sit down. There has to be a political dialogue. It has to be, there's no doubt. And when you have the true leaders who go back to their people and talk with them and they receive the insult, they will be able to listen to them. Not the ones that wear red cap like me and move around in Abuja and they never come home to their village.
All right, well, we'll talk some more. We'll take a short break now, and then when we come back, we'll talk some more about, forming alliances. It's also a very important instrument in politicking. So please stay with us.
Daily, we bring you updates around politics.
People like you who are very young, you have no future. Anybody now who is 30 years, if what is happening today continues, by the time you are 60, you will have no country.
The DPO of a particular unit does not have to wait until the commissioner tells him what to do within his jurisdiction.
We have political parties on the ground. Some of them have been there for years. But they themselves, in their own sober moments, they know that this country is not the one they're expecting to run.
Policy and governance.
Are you saying the NBS is lying?
I'm saying to you very clearly that the NBS has a serious problem with accurate data till today.
The 5th Assembly, as well as the 7th Assembly, their own attempt were unproductive.
Emergence of the Taliban has simply emboldened terror groups globally.
There is a lot of attention with regards to security developments in Nigeria.
On Daily Politics, we interrogate issues, holding the actors to account, bearing in mind all the sides.
We heard that in some places now, people have to go and pay tax, not to the local government, not to the state, but to criminals.
Nobody can come to your house and kidnap you without information.
If this country is bleeding, it is bleeding because we have failed to educate our young.
All right, thank you for staying with us. And if you're just joining, you're a bit late, but not too late though. We're still talking politics on Daybreak this morning. And we have in the studio the National Chairman of All Progressive Grand Alliance, Chief Edozie Njoku, talking to us about the agitation for Igbo presidency in the coming election. Well, I mean, just like we were saying, I want you to talk about alliances. I mean, politics is a game of numbers, isn't it? Democracy, they say, it's about, you know, the majority taking the vote and all of that. So in terms of the numbers, what sort of alliances do you envisage or are you interested in having to be able to see the realization of the Igbo presidency?
Okay. One of the greatest or one of the most beneficial alliances that the Southeast or the Igbos have gotten was in 1979 again with Ekwueme and when we had the vice president and we also had the speaker of the Federal House. It was a great alliance in that the Southeast, and you mentioned it briefly, the Southeastern, we started having a more sense of belonging in this project called Nigeria. We need to take the cue from there. We don't need to be the ones always at the back of the alliance. We can also be the president and someone aligning with us. You understand? In discussions I'll be having with whether it's APC or PDP, knowing fully well that I'm for an Igbo president will be how do we get the mindset of the people to believe that they are part of this country. And once there's peace, solid peace in one area, it starts seeping down the rest. We can't be fighting from different fronts. Everywhere there's one crisis or another. And it's not born, I never agree that it's just the federal government who has, we as leaders are also very responsible. If really we've been allowed to be the leaders who we are, most people are appointed for us as our leaders. You understand? So when those negotiations are going on, our alliances, it must be with true leaders. Unless those people will be looking and say they don't come to collect our money again.
Okay. I think follow-up to his question is that at this point, the election is close by just next year. At this point, do we have some Igbo leaders going to the north to sell the Igbo presidency to them? Do we have some going to the south, to the southwest, to sell Igbo presidency to them? Do we have that going on?
The greatest agitation I've seen for Igbo presidency in a political party is in Apuga. You know, we have like my deputy is from Bauchi, the legal advisor is from, all, whether they're Muslims, whether they're all complete, everybody's voice is there. And I get surprised when I sit down and listen to them saying things stronger than what I'm saying because we've been able to work together for a while and see that we're not a threat to each other. My vice chairman Southeast made a point that he always used to believe in this Igbo. He was saying it in a meeting, also one of these sort of meetings where we're trying to build a bridge. And he said he really believes so much in this Biafra, this belief, but he's beginning to be watered down by the influence he's getting from the NWC, because it shouldn't always be heated. There is always a compromise in anything you do if you want it to work. It's always just even like a marriage. You just have to compromise a lot for it to work.
Yes, but my question is, I want to hear, I don't know if maybe that is in the offing, that you have groups visiting states in the north, visiting states in the southwest, to campaign, to get the buy-in of those people in your project.
Those sort of things are not done at the moment by campaign. We are doing them, what I mean that the Igbos are doing them quietly.
Okay.
You understand? They are doing them quietly. And that's what I said, the executives in the party, I'm shocked. Some of them even formed their NGOs for this purpose of getting the thing for an Igbo man to be president.
Now, in doing so, what are some of the kind of challenges that you encounter, in translating the kind of, unity that you have experienced within the party across geopolitical lines, across ethnic lines within the party? What are the kind of, challenges that you've encountered in trying to translate that to the general public or to the, across party lines and members within the party?
One I really experienced was the initial thing we faced when we came to a place, whether it's Jigawa or to Bauchi, was APGA is an Igbo party. And I said, no, it's not an Igbo party. It's a party that the Southeasterners have a very strong sentiment for. They've looked at it as a vehicle that could get them what they are looking for. Equally well, if you're in Jigawa or you're in Nasarawa, you could be an Igom man who is in Nasarawa and you're looking for a vehicle to move the Igom people into the... You can come and be part of that vehicle. So we should stop looking at things that this is Hausa, this is Igbo, this is... Because we're all the same. The same hunger that someone is facing in Mongolia is the same one they're facing in Umbise. We need to become a little bit and talk more. You understand? When we are talking more, we should not be talking as a Muslim or as a Christian or as an Hausa man or a Yoruba. We should be talking as Nigerians.
Well, it's quite dicey, Well, there's almost this blurry line between talking as a Nigerian and talking as an ethnic nationalist. There's this blurry line there. How can we actually draw up the balance somewhere there?
That line is being created because wrong leaders. You see, like in Nigeria, it's most things that people do are based on their stomach, leaders can easily be created by false empowerment. You understand? But if we really need the crises, whether it's in the Yoruba land or in the Igbo land, to move down, we must allow the people to choose their leaders. They must choose their leaders. And once they've done that, they will hold those leaders responsible for anything that goes wrong. But with these leaders that we have that live in and stay in Abuja, whenever there's a small crisis, they run back to Abuja and stay there and then come back with a heap of mobile police and the people can't even reach them. And you think they will not be annoyed with us. They'll be very angry.
But Chief Njoko, ahead of the 2023 election, there's been so much ethnicity in all the talk. There's been so much region. All we hear and see on the pages of newspaper is not, you cannot do this, South, you must not do this, Igbo is our turn. So when I hear you say we need a Nigerian leader and all of that, a lot of your colleagues do not feel that way, do.
You see, there is no way in which an Igbo man can be president of Nigeria without the Hausa man agreeing to it. It must be discussed. And that's that discussion you are talking about. But I'm saying that we're so fortunate that our leadership has... I wish it was 2 years ago that things settled like this. We would have done a lot more work. But with the little work we are doing, we see a marked difference. Nobody really detests anybody. That when you sit down and talk to people, the detest is a little bit less. It's because we're not engaging each other. We need to engage more. We really need to engage.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak. At this point, we will end the discussion. We appreciate your coming. We look forward to having you.
Thank you.
And we'll continue to bring you, we trust that we'll continue to collaborate in the interest of Nigerians.
Yes, in the interest of Nigerians.
For the best.
Thank you very much. And
all right. We've been speaking with the National Chairman of Progressive Grand Alliance and his chief, Edozie Njoku. We'll take a quick break, and then when we come back, the show will continue. Please stay with us.
Thank you.
Welcome back. That was a very interesting conversation with the chairman of the APGA, right?
Yeah,
as the days unfold, we get to see more of this.
Yeah, more and more. Nigeria is for everyone.
Yes.
So it is. The media is for everyone.
And everyone has a right to aspire to any position they want.
And we'll continue to bring all the updates and all the things that you need to know as we approach the 2023, so that you get to make informed choices at the end of the day.
Yeah. So right now we'll look at those things that Nigerians are doing on a daily basis to take care of themselves and their families. We'll bring you My Daily Hustle.
My name is Stephen Umaru. I am a shoemaker. I learned this work more than 4 years now. Since 2014, I was with my boss. Now I'm the boss of myself. And I have 7 boys. 4 have graduated. The remaining boys have went to school. I'm with my boys for now. I was at home doing nothing. I can't stay at home just doing nothing. I don't have work at home. I just eat, sleep and bath. It was not good for me. So my dad told me that he wanted me to learn work. I said, okay, no problem. Now ask me which one would like to learn. Then I would like to make palm. Like, no problem. Now take me to across. There's a man there which is making palm. And I take me to there and he paid the money and I learn. When I'm done, I went home. I was working at home, working, selling palm. My father now have this container for me, now rent it for me and give me that they have rented shops for me. I should come and manage it. Gradually, he now bought the sewing machine for me and some of the tools. Out of this business, I've helped myself in schools. I buy some of the tests with my money. I pay for some of the PTA meeting, etc. All those things. I used to pay for myself. My father paid all the school fees. You don't know about the uniform and sandals. I do it myself. Some of my customers, I meet them on Facebook. I usually post my picture, my product on Facebook, WhatsApp. So I get some of the customers through there. Some of them come to my shop to make palm. Some of them on Facebook and WhatsApp. I work for them. I do clean work for them. I don't give promise and fake. Come tomorrow. I give them a good work they want. If there's market, I make more than 10 a day. If there's no market, I make 2, 3, 4. Problem that I'm in this container. It's too hot. That's the problem, and I don't have the complete machine. I need some of the machine, because if I have some of the machine, I will not suffer like this. Because there's some work that I'll do in minutes, but I'll do more than an hour because I don't have the machine. I need filing machine. I need lights. I need lance. These are the lance. I need them size by size.
All right, thank you for staying with us. That was my daily hustle. We always do this to just bring to the fore how Nigerians are earning living in their daily lives. Now, with that, we've come to the end of the program for today. But for those who have missed, you can always catch up on our social media platforms and also on our YouTube. In case you are yet to do that, you should do that. Go to Facebook. You'll find us on Instagram and Twitter, and on YouTube as well. So with that, we say bye for now. My name is Ayuba Ilya.
Thank you very much for spending this part of your morning with us, and join us again same time, same station tomorrow. My name is Stella Iyaji. Bye.